Keep moving on. Keep moving on. And they say I have a grim sense of humor.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Just Millie rocking on any block. Hi, guys. Beautiful Crow here. Welcome to Victor's Amateur Series Week 2. And guess who's back in action? The beautiful cherry blossom deity themselves, Infinite Dodge. Say hi.
Hi everyone, I'm back. You can't get rid of me that easily. You can try your best, but indeed, I will return, as
Steed.
Crow said. And I'm very excited to be joined by Kev Bo for the first time. We're gonna get that PvP color caster action going tonight. Get our synergy built up. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'm excited. Real excited. We got some Blitzcrank propaganda. We got some Gangplank propaganda. We're just gonna take over this place. So
Oh,
That
yes.
reminds me of one time we were playing like a party game where we had to name characters or something, and then we were taking shots and we got it wrong. And my girlfriend was with me; she doesn't play League, and like I was describing a character, and she went, "Oh, is it blank clank? Is that the character you play?" I was like, "You know what? That is close enough. That counts. You win."
Right, if you're listening, please, we need a blank crank skin that works for both Blitzcrank and Gangplank. Make them interchangeable. Oh my gosh, just next April Fool skin, calling it right now. Woo! Oh my goodness. Well, with that very fun blurb out of the way, welcome to week 2. This is going to be a Group B matchup between the CB Dragons and the Degenerates. And, well, both are 1-0 as of last week. If you want to pull up the standings for Group B real quickly, switch over to that so we can just run down that. The CB organization, very various teams come through the Victoris leagues,
Ecosystem.
the ecosystem, yes. And so, not too much of a stranger to this league and to whom they may be going against as well. The Degenerates, they have had a few teams in this league as well. With Ascension winning spring, so it's just two storied orgs, two I don't want to say franchised, but relevant resident orgs rather. There we go. In the Victor's ecosystem, battling it out, and yeah, so both are one apiece. So starting with CB Dragons, just a little bit to talk about there. Either of you want to jump at the bit? Feel free to take it.
Kev, you know what? I've earned my tenure here with this cast. You're the new guy. I'm gonna put my feet up. You can break down what CB Dragons are working with here tonight as they come in against the Degenerates.
yeah, so actually, right now they're working with quite a few subs. I believe a sub jungle and AD carry at the very least. I think there's one more. I cannot quite remember what it
Mid lane
is.
as well. They're missing the three middle ones in that top to bottom list.
Yeah, but still picking up the win last week. Of course, a nice game from them. Some spicy picks I did see. I believe a Zach support game. So that's fun. I'd love to see some spicy stuff like that for sure. Picking up a quick 2-0, I believe, in their game last week. But like I said, really interesting stuff. A bunch of weird, kind of strange picks. We'll see if they stick with that. Of course, like we said, working with a couple of subs tonight, and yeah, that's really all I have to say. Definitely an interesting one. Last week they went with a comp that was no tanks besides Zach support, so we'll have to wait and
Can
see
we
if.
even call Zach support a tank? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
what, like,
honestly.
That depends. Was it full AP? Because that's how you really send it
that's
if you're
how,
going to play Zach
yeah.
support.
That's
That's
how
the
you
way to do it.
that's how you send the message right there. So we'll have to see if the Dragons are going to pull out some wacky picks this time, even with the subs that they have in, or if they're going to play something a little bit more standard, going up against someone like Degenerate Spawn. So we'll have to see how that will go. We're going to get into that shortly as we do have everybody loading into the lobbies and getting all that set up. We are on the new patch that did drop today, 12.9. So we can go over some of that with y'all if y'all have not touched on it at all. My only important thing about this one is that the new Talia changes have been released on this patch, and we're going to see a lot of her. If any of y'all haven't touched on the new patch, she's almost a new champion with her kit.
Yeah, it's really special what they did with her, and I think she's going to have a lot of potential as a two-role flex through mid, through jungle. Really increased her capability to roam. Did nerf her early movement speed off the passive, but did make it so it takes longer to fall off. So in the jungle role, you can really be surfing on those rocks basically constantly. You're not going to have that passive falling off much at all. Gave her a lot more area of effect on the E, expanded the length that E, those stone mines do cover up. I think they increased the knock-up duration on the W. They made a lot of changes with the Q. They brought back the AoE, which should allow her to see some more play in mid lane like we used to see back in the good old Season 6 days. She will have the capability to shove and roam as she was sort of designed to. A lot of quality of life with the ultimate as well. Can dash off that Weaver's Wall as she's zipping all about the place without having to worry about getting knocked off by damage. Just going to be seeing a lot of Talia probably, while also maintaining her jungle capability. They did up her damage to monsters, so she is. I saw you nodding and looked worried for a second. I was like, am I muted? Have I been
No, I
ranting to
just
people who
when you
can't
said
hear me?
no, you just said back in the season 6 days, and that made me realize that Talia's been out for 6 years, and I'm just like,
It's
oh, oops,
very worrisome. Becoming boomers are Crow and I in the league scene, but it's just fine. But yeah, Talia is going to be really exciting. Another one that's huge, Kev, is going to be Olaf coming through. Already been pretty good in coordinated play, even at this level. So those Olaf changes definitely going to be making it extra scary. Big possibility we see him here tonight.
Yeah, I definitely think we're going to see a lot more Olaf here in VIS. I know several teams picked it up, including, I believe, the Degenerate side last week picked it up, got a win on that champ, or I'm looking at the wrong thing. Nope. I did see they actually played against a team that picked Olaf. So definitely, I think we'll see more. Of course, the clear speed, very important on Olaf. And right now, of course, having junglers that can gank early and have good clear speed is kind of meta. So I'm expecting to see a lot of that. I'm expecting to see more Wukong, of course, being picked up a lot at MSI the past couple days. But on that note, Degenerates definitely have a plan that they went with, and it definitely worked. Tristana every game, so maybe see some more of that tonight. Of course, gonna have a pretty tanky top side, it would seem, coming in from them, and then Tristana carry. So we'll have to wait and see how they do go with that one. But yeah, Olaf gonna be coming back. He felt so bad, honestly. Like recently,
Yeah.
I played an Olaf game. His clear speed was slow. He couldn't heal off camps. Like I'm glad to see them fixing him up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see the new picks. I mean, we know we're going to see the Olaf coming in. We know we're going to see Talia coming in. This Tristana pick that you said, 100% win rate so far. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It might get banned out. Who knows? It might not. So I'm interested to see how each of the teams have adjusted with the changes. These teams, they may be amateur league, but they do have a lot of good scouting tools at their disposal that they might choose to look at some of these champion picks ahead of time on the patch and be like, hey, this is going to be good. We might need to grab this. So definitely think, and I think that these changes will benefit the jungle pool. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, it's just League of Tanks in the jungle, blah blah blah, and Riot's just like, nah, I don't know what you're talking about. We got big damage coming over here.
Yeah, we did see Sejuani buffed. I do believe that was on 12.8, which is the patch that MSI is being played on. Yes. But of course, they're favoring, like Kev mentioned, the Wukong, super high priority. They gave him a bunch of jungle-specific buffs. He's doing more AoE damage to camps with his E. He's hopping over walls now, which is a quality of life buff that I'm sure so many players have waited so long for with Wukong. He can finally do it. It makes his gank pathing all the trickier, gives him some nice ways to circumvent vision in the early game as well. So definitely a big pick to watch out for is going to be the Wukong, but in conjunction with some big jungle changes on 12.9, we also have a bit of a change to the way the side lanes play out, and it could be very important because, as Kev mentioned, it's going to be the Degenerates favoring tanks. They want that sort of healing front line for the AD carry focus style they do go with, which has only been Tristana so far in the season. We'll see if a ripple or a wrinkle gets introduced into that plan in the draft phase if it does get banned out. But Hullbreaker absolutely gutted on this patch, as well well as Scion, who is one of its premier users. So it's going to be interesting to see if that shakes up what is playable up in top lane. That's probably the big capstone I want to drive home from these 12.9 patch changes. The top lane meta, it's up for grabs. It's going to be anybody's, especially next patch when the really big changes come through, but we'll get into that in the coming weeks. Either way, this matchup tonight should be absolutely awesome.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Riot trying to gut League of Hullbreakers. It's whenever there's a split push item that just gets too strong in the meta for too long, Riot's like, man, maybe we shouldn't enable split pushing. I mean,
Bring back ZZ Rot. Bring back ZZ Rot.
Look, bring back banners, ZZ Rot. Let me just AFK and let my team deal with, like, just let me just have my fun in the side lane. But yeah, it's just time after time it happens, and it's been multiple iterations of the same problem. Well, eventually they'll fix it. I mean, the game's only been out for 10 years, so who knows?
It has been 10 years. Oh my god. I was in high school when I started playing this. It's always Wednesdays that Crow manages to make me feel old. Crow and our producer Cam, shout outs to Cam, doing a great job already tonight with the graphics, even if it's sort of Mike Wazowski and Crow a little bit when it does pop up those standings. But yeah, as I'm now getting threatened by the God voice up above.
I have confirmation in my ear. Dodge is being
but yeah, the side lane split pushing meta has been really defining a lot of the past couple of weeks. But Kev, is there anything else you want to look out for coming in on 12.9? Any sort of strategies you expect these teams to pick up, or you want to see them pick up besides banning out Tristana against Degenerates, maybe?
Yeah, I definitely think the early power hungry ADCs, stuff like Lucian, stuff like Tristana, is going to become more and more common with them getting buffs, especially Lucian with the flexibility to, I mean, realistically, at this level, 3 roles at least. Might see something spicy. I don't think we're going to see jungler support Lucian, but definitely can pull that one out, and definitely is very strong right now, especially paired with the Nami. I know a lot of supports. I find at least that there's 2 types of supports. There's supports like me who hate enchanters and would rather just play Blitzcrank and hook people all day. And then there's people who play everything. So we'll have to wait and see whether that one does come out. I definitely think that enchanters and Lucian is insane to begin with. So I expect to see more and more of that.
Well, your Kevbo, your hooker dreams may come true because Thresh did get some pretty nifty buffs on this patch. For scaling rather. So his souls used to be 0.75 ability and bonus armor per soul. Now it's just up to a solid net 1. So that just gives him better scaling. Like in that late game, allows him to actually have a bit more agency earlier when it comes to like the bigger shields and even the damage from his passives. So with that being said, so many more opportunities in the champion pool to be opened up on every single lane. I'm ready to get into it, some more Victor's action, and I will be bidding you guys a small adieu as we go to break, and when we come back, we'll be getting into game 1 between CB Dragons and Degenerates. So see you in a second.
We just flew in. Ah! I'm motion sick. Cam's trying to kill me, but we're in the draft, so it doesn't matter whether I live or die. I'm sure Kev can handle both roles perfectly fine on his own. Just telling me about his casting debut where he had to do both for a full 5-game series. I don't envy you there. But I am hoping for a 3-game banger here tonight. First night back doing the play-by-play for VAS. And our first ban is a Shaco coming out here on blue side from Degenerate Spawn.
Yeah, I think we saw that in that Zac game. They also had a Shaco. I believe it was Shaco Jungle. Definitely see some carry jungle coming out from Don't Get Solo Killed. So I expect to have him on something proactive if CB Dragons are looking for the comps that they ran last week or something similar to them.
Makes sense. Those Shaco one-tricks, often the most vicious of all one-tricks. You don't want to let that champion go through. As we see a lot of annoying mages taken off the board here in the first rotation. It's Zillion, Vigar, Lux. This is like classic solo queue banning, right? Nobody likes playing against these champs. I mean, Zillion's point and click, slow, 99%. Vigar, giant AoE CC. Get him out of here. And just like we predicted in the pregame, it's going to be Olaf taken off the board as well, freshly reworked. Don't risk it. Don't play against him. Who do you want to see picked up here with this first pick for Degenerates, Kev?
I definitely think that there are several strong things depending on what they want to do. I didn't see a lot of Lucian played. Yuumi, okay. I mean, cats galore. You can definitely pair that well with something similar. Of course, CB did end up banning that Tristana. Not at all surprised. It looks like see a poke bot lane come out. Not surprised. Into something like a Yuumi, they're going to try and bully them out of lane. Get a lot of mana usage, but we'll have to wait and see what they pair that with. Like I said, I do kind of expect that it's going to be early game prio in the bot lane for Degenerates.
Yeah, that Yuumi going to offer a lot of sustain through the poke of the Ezreal and the Karma, as there's another key factor we highlighted in the pregame. It's Talia being picked up here for Degenerate Spawn. Going to wonder if that's going to Glucose Poppy or to Facade there in the mid lane. It could be both. It is a flex, at least that's how it was designed to be, coming in on the mini rework on 12-9. And it's a lot of AP, a lot of magic damage throughout the board here in the first rotation for both of these teams, even Ezreal about 50-50. As who needs to pick pure AD when you can pick pure true damage? That's the Vayne, very confidently locked in for Degenerates there on B3.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a change of style here, going for a little bit more late game, especially, like I said, on that bot side that they focused on so much in the last game. Vayne, of course, known far and wide for her late game damage. We'll have to wait and see how they do decide to answer this on the side of Dragons. It looks like maybe an Ornn. Early Ornn, very early Ornn.
Yeah, I mean, Ornn was really high priority in LCS playoffs. We didn't see it lose a whole lot. Offers a lot of great insurance to the team. Upgrades those items into the ornaments as it does go on. Sort of matches the scaling of the Vayne. But in terms of matchups, once it does get unlocked from lane, or even in top lane, as that Vayne is a flex, Vayne could be big trouble for a big HP stacking tank like that with the percent health damage on the Silver Bolts. But we're into the second phase just like that, and it's jungler elimination time. Obviously, Dragon's not convinced that's going to be a jungle Talia because they are just still hard targeting the jungle. That's the fast, clear, and fast running junglers in the Udyr and the Hecarim taken out. The response is Graves over from Degenerates. What is left on the board if it's not going to be one of these big, fast-clearing junglers here, Kev?
I think maybe we see a Viego come out here. Maybe something similar to that. Like I said, I expect both these junglers, from what I saw of their games last week, going to look for something that's kind of high prio, but at the same time, J4, Sejuani, both on the table right now, both really strong junglers here, both have really good ganks, so wouldn't be surprised to see any of those, but Kayle mid?
Yeah, I mean, you'd assume it would have to be, and Dragon's really, like, indexing all into scaling right now, right? Like, Ornn, Kayle, even Ezreal scales fairly well. They're basically saying, we're going to lose every lane, that's fine. We're going to win the late game because this is VAS and you can't punish us hard enough to make it count. That's a story we've seen written countless times here in VAS. We'll see if it holds true once again tonight, but I do like the Gwen in response here. One of those few champions that should be able to stand up to Ornn, who's surprisingly hard to move in the early game. And now Poppy is the final hover, and it's locked in. Not a whole lot of mobility to be countered with that Keeper's Verdict on the W there, or the Vanguard, I think it is, for the Poppy. So I'm a little bit curious about this one, where it's going to slot in.
Yeah, I think part of it is really just they need a little bit of front line, a little bit of engage. So Poppy going to be real good there. I personally would probably prefer to see like a Tank Jarvan or a Sejuani here, but it might just be a comfort thing. Of course, that is going to be important into the Ezreal, and Rek'Sai going to come out on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, Dragons at Index so far into the late game, they really needed something to bridge the gap there. Rek'Sai can get very aggressive early on, force a lot of wonky gank angles, definitely exactly what they needed for that early game.
Yeah, like you said, I'm definitely excited to see that. Of course, lots of scaling on the side of Dragons, especially with the Kale Ornn combo. Just wait till level 16 with Kale. Honestly, just sit there and farm until you get to the late game. Of course, Vayne is going to eventually get items and is eventually going to do a lot of damage, even into a tank like Ornn. So we'll have to wait and see how that one does go. Of course, Yuumi going to be very annoying this game, I think. Lots of very mobile and high damage pairings there. So not at all surprised to see that one, of course. Like you pointed out, the Gwen going to be pretty strong into the Ornn, can of course dodge around a little bit, and death by 1,000 cuts always, at least when she came out, was also very strong into the Ornn, going to give them even more late game scaling. So
yeah, the true damage on the passive, the Conqueror stacking, everything about that Gwen matchup really feels good into the Ornn. Just in terms of looking at these individual lane matchups, assuming that this is going to be Kale mid, how are you feeling about how some of these early lanes are going to play out, and where should we expect to see the early game advantage from two teams that have both picked themselves a lot of scaling options?
Well, on the side of Dragons, definitely going to have Prio in the bot lane. That poke lane, Ezreal and Karma, is kind of a lot of poke. Definitely going to want to see them bully Persnickety and Servco out of the bot lane. Yeah,
sure.
Gonna hopefully see them bully them out of the lane. That's going to be the biggest thing, of course. Rek'Sai really needs to get busy early. That's going to be the strongest point for them, is going to be that early to mid game. So want to see don't get solo killed, be very proactive here in this early game. Other than that, it really kind of just looks like the solo laners are just there to scale.
Yeah, that very much could be the case. I do enjoy your point a lot about the bot lane and how, the Karma is going to do a lot of what the Yuumi can do, right, with the speed ups and with the poke damage, but it's going to ultimately prove to be superior in the early, you would think, because Karma has that body she can use to shield through with the Ezreal, whereas Yuumi a little bit more dependent on the positioning of the AD carry, can't really sell herself out to keep the AD carry alive, but it's a lot of high skill expression champions here. It should be an absolute banger moving into game one of the night here for VAS Week 2, and we will see how it all plays out on the other side of a short break, so stay right where you are. Well, maybe go grab a snack first, but then rush right back to catch the game. It'll be on the other side of a break. We'll be right back. All right, y'all, here we are. We have hit the riff. It is time to get going here for Degenerates versus CB Dragons. I'm Infinite Dodger. I'm joined by Kev for our first game of the night, and we see a very standard point defense coming out from the CB Dragons. Meanwhile, the Degenerates getting a little bit more spicy.
Yeah, looking for a little bit of an invade. They don't have too much CC here, so maybe just going to be trying to get some vision, karma, poke already with the poke. Going to be, I think, just backing off and going back to our traditional 5-point here, though. But fun game. Looking to see some proactivity, like we said, from the jungler for CBD. We'll have to wait and see, though, how this one does end up playing out.
Yeah, it was CBD who actually got the better end of that early trade, right? Because Karma got the poke off, and they saw so many members, the Orn knew, I can just go up and get that vision down on a camp. So they're going to be very well informed about what's happening here. But as we do get ready for the action to begin, Kev, is there anything in the runes and masteries, summoner spells, jumps out to you immediately that you want to point out here that, hey, that's kind of insane?
I don't really think so. From my perspective, everything looks pretty traditional. Talia,
I'll tell you, exhaust Talia. That's jumping out at me. That's kind of a Chad move coming out here from Facade.
Yeah, I do think it will be good, though, into the Kale, especially the later we get into the game, of course. And I do want to say, we don't know what Talia is going to build, whether it's going to be some Chad Dark Harvest, of course, going to go with the Electrocute here. I'm not at all surprised to see that should make early laning phase even stronger. But yeah, exhaust definitely jumping out a little bit now that you say that. Of course, going to be very strong in the later portions of the game into this Kale.
Yeah, we'll see if it makes those seismic shoves easier to hit as well. Seems a little bit nasty as we do see Taco Cat actually taking a little bit of the worst end of a trade there, despite the early level 2 coming through for the Dragon bot lane, as Yumi jumping all about the place, being the annoying little cat that we know her to be. But it is just that early game ramp up. These junglers going through their clears, and they've both wound up on the bot side, so we should expect to see a lot of action down there. We'll see if Karma can escort the Rek'Sai in with a big speed boost. And it's just the trading that we expect to see coming out from Ornn. He's so multifaceted, this champion. Does it all. He's the assassin mage tank, as we see the early gank, but that seismic shove was so well buffered coming through from Facade, completely invalidates the approach of don't get solo killed there. So that's a bit of an early resource wasted, as the Rek'Sai doesn't make the first attack really stick.
And surprisingly enough, it looks like the Yumi and Vayne actually winning out on the trades here in the bot lane thus far, and are getting the shove into this Ezreal and Karma, of course. After the first item or so, it's going to become even harder. Karma, of course, with that poke earlier, is pretty insane. We'll have to wait and see how they do end up doing this one, of course. Glucose going to be here on the bot side, just trying to cover for the Rek'Sai that is looking to come over the wall here.
Yeah, we see the Poppy going up back towards mid, maybe trying to corral that Scuttle Crab right now. Don't get solo killed. Was fishing for something, but the angle hasn't quite presented itself. Now going to walk into the river and find out that a bit too late to the Crab party to collect on that, so a nice little advantage picked up for the Poppy.
Poppy looking for something spicy here, though. Gonna meet in the jungle, it looks like.
Yeah, there she is. She gets the stun. She gets the hammer down. Rek'Sai can't get out. Grounded up. That anti-mobility working so well for Glucose Poppy. It forces the flash and don't get soul killed. But meanwhile, Kopek coming on in. But you're the Kale. You're level 4. You can't do much there as Facade calls the bluff. Bullies him on back. We see a little bit of that newly added AoE damage restored to the Talia. Does a little bit of splashback in return. So in the end, just a nice little invade pulled off by the Degenerates. They win a flash in the exchange.
Yeah, very well played, of course, on that early invade by the Poppy. Going to, I think, honestly get a lot. Didn't get any camps, but of course, like you said, that flash going to be very important here. I'll have to wait and see. Ornn going to invade, get some vision. Poppy already invading again, though.
Yeah, this Poppy is relentless, and once you have that flash advantage, why not? Onto the camp, gets the smite down, and once again a stun, but fails to pick up the shield. We'll see if Don't Get Soul Kill can use that early damage on the Rek'Sai. That would have been the knock-up. There it is, all the way through. The grounding actually didn't take effect until far too late, but Kopek's here to back it up. Glucose Poppy going to be the first to fall, and now it's Facade who is getting bullied out. No mana, tried to roam to back up the play, but can't do anything. Kopek, though, not going to walk forward into that Gwen, but still, that's first blood for CB Dragons.
Yeah, and onto the Kale, no less, going to be a pretty important pickup. Get some early extra experience and gold. Kale, of course, going to be that notorious scaling champ. Always love to see early kills. We'll have to wait and see whether or not it'll turn into any plates here, of course, after bullying Facade off that wave. Orin, of course, like you said, kind of just doing his thing on the top side.
Yeah, he is just an immovable object. Gwen being the subject of many nerfs over the past 6 months or so, not really quite being able to do what she used to do, and now with Don't Get Solo killed here, it's going to be even harder for her to continue to exist as the knockup comes through. That immunity zone not going to do anything there. So that's another one picked up for CB Dragons. Rek'Sai, 2 assists early, doing exactly what we expected it to do.
Yeah, very well played. Good pathing from Don't Get Solo Killed, of course, and good wave management, I do want to point out, thus far from the side of the Dragons, setting up those waves nicely enough. Of course, in the middle of the lane there, but Ornn, so much CC so early, going to be pretty easy to gank that lane at any point in the game. We'll have to wait and see how much that is going to end up meaning, and it looks like maybe a regank going to be coming up here.
Yeah, but that's the Hallowed Mist gone, and the Call of the Forge God available. Don't Get Solo Killed is here. They are on to AFK, but the snip comes on through, so now it's jungle versus jungle combat in the top lane, as it's Rek'Sai who picks up that kill up there. Has the turret to run away to, but wants to keep going. Has the Conqueror stacking it up. Doesn't have the 6 quite yet, but does have the level advantage over Glucose. Are they going to continue dueling here? The shield is available to be picked up. Kobita is going to come back and find the TP, but that's the 1-for-1. No, Solo Killed going back around. It finds a knock up at that W, going to be good to keep the Ornn out of the battle for now, but no mana left, nowhere to go, nothing to do. That's just another kill coming on through for Rek'Sai. Absolutely smurfing in the early game.
Yeah, and just not respecting the tunnel there. Could clearly see it, but I guess not expecting Don't Get Soul Killed to just leave and immediately turn around. Classic jungler right there. Never leaving me alone in my top lane. But we'll have to give him big props thus far. 2-0-2 already with a little bit of a bounty, doing exactly what Rek'Sai needs to do in this early game.
You have serving as that bridge, right? You have these 2 hard scaling solo laners that you need to find a way to get them accelerated through this game, and that's exactly where the advantages have come off the Rek'Sai ganks, as we now see Kobita basically bullying Boulder out. Getting this shove in could secure a nice reset, although it's Ornn, so you don't necessarily have to reset. Even on good timers, you can just build what you need to in lane, assuming you still have the health and mana to stick around, which it looks like Kobita is going to do. Going to take the time to move forward, get some advanced vision, but just a really good performance coming through from CB Dragons right now. And I want to ask you, do their scaling advantages basically have this locked up for them from this point if they play flawlessly, or are there still angles for Degenerates to find big advantages in this early game?
I definitely think there's angles for Degenerates, as Kobita, the easy Ornn 1v1 on that top side, has so much. He already has a null mantle. It's going to be just so hard for Boulder to do anything here. Of course, I do think that with the Poppy Talia lane, there is a chance for maybe some roams down to the bot side, see if they can pick something up there. Of course, going to be pretty hard, but Talia is going to have a decent amount of damage even in this early stage, and of course, you want to see the roam coming in on that Weaver's Wall, but we'll have to wait and see if they can work that one out. But thus far, it does look like control of the map is pretty strong for CBD, of course. Got the Rek'Sai roams, have bot river very well warded thus far, so we'll have to wait and see if they even can get ganked at this point.
Yeah, it will be a bit of a task, as speaking of ganks, we see Don't Get Solo Killed trying to set it up through lane. They need to push out to prevent the vision from seeing them, but that's the Condemn into the wall. Taco Cat so low, going to get rooted out by that final chapter. No flashes right at the last moment, but that's the exhaust coming through, and Don't Get Solo Killed absolutely chunked through these silver bolts, absolutely shredding the health bar, but there's no mana left, but the Reaver's Wall from behind absolutely isolates the side of CB Dragons. That's a big comeback angle from the Degenerates. They find 3 down there in the bot lane. They turned around on Don't Get Solo Killed, and this Hextech Drake should be their prize.
Yeah, that's the power of that Weaver's Wall. Just walks out of lane, presses R, gets down to the bottom immediately. We see a trade on the top side. Snip, snip.
I mean, I feel like we've put the classic caster curse down here. We were talking about what great advantages CBD has accumulated for themselves, and now they're losing on both side lanes instantly.
And honestly, I think just really well played from the side of uh, DES. Vayne, of course, very importantly, picking up a kill here, as we see. I think very well played. Gets that Yumi ult out, gets the Weaver wall out, and they're just cut off at this point.
Yeah, absolutely amazing zone control coming through from the Degenerates as we snap back to live. And Taco Cat, once again, having a bad time down here. But it is Boulder, maybe getting bullied once again. This little doll going to have to run on her way as the Void Monster does assert dominance. But things definitely looking a bit more bleak than they were just a moment ago for CBD. Going to try and start up on this Herald are the top side, but so many angles for DES to contest them now as we do see 3 members moving towards that top side. We'll see if they get there in time to contest.
Yeah, it definitely looks like they are going to try and prioritize that. But like you said, the early setup going to be pretty important. They do know that Rek'Sai is here, though, so maybe going to get caught out.
Yeah, we see the convergence of multiple members. This could be a big old fracas. Instead, maybe don't get solo killed, just respecting the fact that they've been found out, that they can't continue, going to take that blast cone away. But Kopek is here, has the divine intervention, but that's a nice keeper's verdict to knock away Kobe to there. And now it is the chase down coming on through. Facade trying to get the damage out, but Glucose Poppy could be the first to fall out. Will be the ult coming on out from Rek'Sai, and that's the great divine intervention to keep the fight going. It's 2 low health bars, but can Facade afford to keep moving forward with the orange standing in your face, finding the CC, finding the kill for Kopek. That's another swing back. We're just seeing so many blows exchanged, and this time it's CBD coming out on top.
Yeah, definitely a huge overextension from the side of DES there. I didn't even pick up the Eye of the Herald, so not going to be able to get the gold from that either. Kills going over the Rek'Sai, kills going over to Kale, not what you want to see. A good attempt at the turn, but just underestimating the damage and the amount of people there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely so. And now we have to start to evaluate, as it looked like one of these teams was going to be running away with it in the early game when CBD was finding all the plays. But now it's been a bit more even, a bit more of a smattering of both teams finding these proactive plays and both of them having hard scaling elements. Which team do you think, given this back and forth footing we've seen so far, if it continues, will have the more dominant late game?
I think it is going to be the side of CBD here. Of course, Poppy with a Hex Flash. Maybe going to try and look for something, but just from the range coming in from the Azrael and Karma, it's going to be really hard to get onto these neutral objectives, especially if they set up vision right. So we'll have to wait and see. And of course, trying to engage into no vision with that alone is hard, but with also an Ornn there, going to be even harder. Of course, can just call the old Forge God whenever he wants, or as long as the cooldown is up. It's going to be really hard to walk into that, I think.
Yeah, as we do see Persnickety just being a nuisance, getting up and getting that ward. Can't really be stopped thanks to the lead that has been accumulated down there in that Vayne Yumi lane. So that's a free little piece of candy picked up by them. But things are really hanging at a bit of a neutral state until this next dragon hits the field. You have to feel. It will be a Cloud Drake coming up next, which means no Cloud Soul. Always exciting to see. And who do you think is going to be better set up here, Kev, to get onto that one first and take that away? As actually we don't have time to consider it because it is Koida in the pit, knocked up, rooted down, shoved back. I mean, there's just an endless CC chain, but that was a nice 3-man knock up into the flash, but instead he turns around. Koida, what are you doing? You had the angle out. Instead chooses to die like a Chad there against the pit wall.
Well, I was going to say it's DES even before that, but definitely going to be even easier here, I think. As Ornn will probably have to catch this top wave. But just, especially based on vision, like I said, this poke comp really relies on having that deep vision, and thus far it's just not set up. So we'll have to wait and see if they can get that vision out and get into the river before DES, but CBD going to be very important that they set up here.
Yeah, and it will be Boulder who gets the nice reset, shoving the wave in there, getting Kobe to teleport out, has the TP to join for a potential dragon fight, but it's don't get solo killed trying to punish it. The pings were true, though. The pings were good. Keeps the Gwen safe up there, and it's not going to result in much. It's fighting across the board. These teams haven't taken a break. It's 13 kills in 14 minutes. Very action-packed, and it's only going to get spicier with this Windrake up in 30 seconds.
Yeah, like you said, no one really has vision right now of that river. Going to be seeing Dax here kind of late. Poppy, of course, going to be able to get into the river here real quick. And it looks like CBD might be actually looking for a topside angle instead of going for this drag.
Yeah, Boulder playing it safe, running on out, doesn't want to engage into those two big meatballs right there. Knows that's not going to end well for them. But this Drake is up and started. Poppy is right there and ready to go. Facade coming over to join. So many tools available for the side of Degenerates. They have that Reaver's Wall to create zones like we saw in that bot lane fight. It could be absolutely massive. Instead, it looks like it's going to be no contest whatsoever. It's going to be the second Drake going on over with the Ocean Rift spawning. Big things happening for the Degenerates.
Yeah, and Dragon's really not getting anything from that. Not even a trade on the top side. Just going to give that one up for kind of free. Going to be seeing if they can get some farm here. But, of course, scaling still coming in from both sides. We'll have to see who does end up prioritizing these neutral objectives as...
That's the engage coming through over the wall with the tunnel. That's the sick combo. The divine intervention allows Solo Killed to absolutely commit there. Big pickup in the mid lane. Nice pick off under turret.
Yeah, it's going to be first tower as well. Onto the Kale, no less. Like we said, going to scale super hard here in that mid lane. We'll have to wait and see as they look for maybe a little bit of an angle onto Boulder.
Yeah, they're not aware that the hook around is coming. Here's the call of the Forge God. That's one knockup, and they find another. The CC chain is never ending. It's relentless. The Dragons absolutely breathing fire all over this rift, and now it's Persnickety trying to turn it around on the other side of the map, find that cross-map play with the Yuumi, and they will do it. That shield bow absolutely keeps Vayne from going down. Taco Cat forced to flash. They have the Scuttle Rope, but they're not going to commit to the overchase with multiple members coming to back up the play from the side of the Degenerates, but that's a nice 2v2 kill picked up from the bot lane of Degenerates.
Yeah, very well played by them. Are able to get that trade back on the other side of the map. Maybe a dive going to come in here, though. They do not have those important ults, so we'll have to wait and see if they do end up going for it.
Yeah, big cooldowns used and no mana available for Persnickety either, but they're not going to force it here. Didn't really have the capability to push the wave with just Taco Cat in lane to set up for it. So a nice clear out coming out in time, and it's just going to be a bit of a standoff. But at 17 minutes in, it's an ever so slight gold lead, about 2k, maybe about one cheap legendary item for CBD, but we see endless action. The CC chains are so nasty for both of these comps. It's going to be the Rek'Sai shut down. That's a huge gold influx back over to Degenerates.
Yeah, very nicely played, and they're really good thus far at setting up that vision. Definitely like to see that. Korea going to just walk away really here. Not too much Poppy can do. We'll have to wait and see, though. Like I was saying, though, on that bot side river, even though they have been getting poked out a little bit, have been struggling maybe a little bit to get push at some points on this bot side, still have been doing a very good job at keeping themselves safe with their wards on this bot side. And even getting some of that deep vision, going to keep an eye on, don't get solo killed if they can. We'll have to wait and see, though, which direction both of these teams do end up going. Of course, that second Rift Herald is coming up, and it looks like there is going to maybe be a fight for it on this top side.
Yeah, and it could be well decided by the fact that these isolated bot lanes, it's been the side of Degenerates who have managed to get the upper hand in that matchup while the solo lanes were getting focused. They bring a big advantage up to this fight. If it even does get contested by CB, it looks like they're not really wanting to touch that one even with a 10-foot pole, instead opting to trade at least one turret here. Kopech going to be the benefactor of that, but it will be Glucose Poppy, who picks up a second Rift Herald, but this time they're actually going to get to use it.
Yeah, of course, going to be very important that they use it well here. Maybe funnel one of these towers into the Vayne, already picking up that one on the bot side, I believe. So we'll have to wait and see. Instead, just going to look to maybe crack open this mid lane, give themselves a little bit more opportunity to roam from that mid lane, push their advantage into the side waves. But for now, it looks like we are just going to be seeing the bot lanes rotating towards mid lane, just going to be pushing waves back and forth for now.
Yeah, it is a bit of that ping-pong match going on in the side lanes, and we will see who is the overall benefactor of the scaling game as we do crest that 20-minute mark. Kopech looking absolutely massive here in the mid lane. It's like we were mentioning just a short while ago, really the beneficiary of a lot of the early Rek'Sai plays, but don't get solo killed. Not done making plays yet. Boulder in the wrong place at the wrong time. You might be chopping through Kobita with those needles, but you're not going to be living too much longer, although maybe the outplay could have come through. No, the healing was great. great, but it's not enough to win the 1v3 from that position. It's another one picked up for CBD. They are continuing to make Boulder's life very, very hard.
Yeah, of course, kind of gotten bullied thus far. Boulder maybe feeling a little conflicted here. We'll have to wait and see if they can turn this one around. Of course, Gwen did get changed a little bit, so maybe...
That was a little bit of a scary situation for Kobita, but yeah, as you were saying, Gwen has been nerfed quite a bit.
Yeah, and actually, kind of interesting though, while they nerfed her a lot since her release, they are trying to get her to a point, I believe, where she can be a late game carry. So going to have more and more Hex Flash, not quite gonna get it.
Yeah, Glucose Poppy selling out there to try and get that Drake, try and find the steal, but it's not going to come through. CBD do cut off the Dragon scaling, or rather stacking, which was such an important part of the scaling plan for Degenerates, and that's a valuable Drake to start stacking up here towards that soul point for CBD. That Ocean going to be offering them lots of regen when you have tanky members like the Ornn. That's going to do a lot, but now it's the overstay from Kobita, just looking for a greedy little chicken clear. Those Wraiths may be going to lead to his demise, though, as he's getting chased down. The True Shot Barrage going to come over the top, though, and somehow he's done it. Had the chance to make a miraculous escape before, but chose to die like a Chad. This time saying, no, thank you, I'll live, and making it look real good as we do get this replay here at the Dragon.
Yeah, and just a little bit late on that smite, not able to pick it up there. Once you're there, 1v4, it's just really hard to get too much of anything done for Poppy there. Going to move back out onto the map here, get some items, get some rotations out. Persnickety, of course, stuck in this side lane against Kale. Really easy pushing potential there at this point in the game.
Yeah, definitely so, and it would have been a nice steal, nice pickup for the side of Degenerates, as these top laners never stop scrapping. Kobita not really bothered, though, just going to walk away, but it hurts bad for Degenerates because they did the early game work to get those first two dragons for themselves, and going against a comp that scales as well as CBD does, they would have liked to have that insurance, especially with a big tank like Poppy benefiting from that Ocean Drake, but it could be CBD looking to run things late as they are up 3k, and this Gwen just hasn't had much effect in the side lanes whatsoever this game.
Yeah, you really wanted to see this Gwen kind of get an advantage. Of course, at this point, can probably win the 1v1 against the Ornn with all the true damage in her kit, but she's never alone. Always seems to be don't get solo killed or Taco Cat down there helping out their buddy Kobita. We'll have to wait and see just how they continue to play around that split pushing. Of course, looks like we're maybe setting up for a Baron fight here.
Yeah, potentially so. Could just be a bit of a little poke, a little testing of who's willing to blink first, as it looks like nobody's committing, but everybody's hovering. The tension is building. I mean, the take from the side of Degenerates is so fast with the Silver Bolts from Vayne, so they're willing to hop on that one at any moment. Just continuing to sort of, look at each other from across the aisle. The hands are on the holsters, but who's going to draw that 6-shooter first? Instead, they do back off eventually and say, no, we have to fight for mid-prio, as it will be the shove for CBD.
Yeah, and prio is going to be very important here with those neutral objectives, of course. Facade clearing waves real easy at this point. Getting that push back, but of course, with the bot lane pretty much just sitting mid for the side of CBD, going to be winning out that wave push pretty handily. Of course, going to be able to get a little bit of an invade on the Raptors as well.
Yeah, and we do have a big strong point for Degenerates, whether it's in taking that Baron or in finding these fights, which is as much as Boulder hasn't been left alone in the side lane, Persnickety and Servkel really have. We see this Vayne is on 2.5 items, going to be completing that Rage Blade next. Could be an absolute monster in these late game fights if the Yuumi peel, if the healing does allow Persnickety to just free hit as it goes on. So that's somewhere to keep an eye on, but they've already started up this Baron. Now they're going to back off. They realize that's a bit of an over-investment, a little bit too hasty, but these teams just chomping at the bit to get at each other once again.
Yeah, and honestly, if they had seen that Don't Get Solo Killed was bot there, they maybe could have pushed it and taken that one pretty easily. Going to see the Ezreal ult try and push this wave in even a little bit faster. get these backs in, get some more items, and see if they can even set up these team fights. Of course, it would appear that they don't want Poppy in their bottom jungle at all at this point, constantly invading onto those Raptors, onto the red.
Yeah, it does make sense with this dragon about to come up in 30 seconds to find that angle, but it's left Kiora alone, stranded on the top side. Electrocute going to proc and burst through that health bar. Has Kopek there to back them up now, but it is the uneven fight. So they commit towards the top side to try and find a pick, do the side of CBD, and Degenerates are going to lose that on Dragonford, as it's going to be Boulder who actually is the picky on the other side of the map.
Yeah,
now
of
it's
course
a Desperation Baron. Ooh.
Yeah, and very well read here by CBD, going to immediately rotate up, assuming that they're going to go for the dragon, but Ornhorn coming in.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a bit of an EG versus G2 move, or an Order versus G2 move. They said, it's over, we got to go for this Baron because we utterly lost that play, and instead they're getting turned on hard, and here comes the Rek'Sai flying through. You had the Vayne, but it can't do much when it's getting jumped on like that. Not even going to find the counter kill through the Divine Intervention, and now they basically softened the Baron up. It's the objective of choice for CBD wherever they want to go.
Yeah, of course, what you want to see is them get both here, but it looks like they might actually give up this soul points for the Baron at this point. Of course, going to be able to have the Siege, very important for CBD, but I think maybe a little bit more important that they'd prioritize the drag here. Of course, giving Ocean Soul over to Degenerates cannot be a good idea. Going to pick this one up nice and easily. Could be able to get out here as well.
Yeah, they're on Soul Point. I mean, they got the TP in behind, but COVID is sort of the one who's pinched. In the end, that sort of makes the maneuvering of Degenerates feel good because they managed to juggle the attention and create chaos long enough to get the big objective for themselves. They will lose one member here. It's going to be Circle who goes down next. It's also Boulder who was died once again. 2 and 7 feels rough, but as long as they can get out into this bot lane under their tier 2, they should be fine for now. They are down big time in terms of gold, but they really bought themselves some time getting that soul point, Drake.
Yeah, absolutely, and if they can get the soul as well, that's going to stall the game even longer. Hopefully get to a point where Vayne can get a nice team fight. Of course, haven't had a real good chance to set up as Facade.
Yeah, that was a little bit too close for comfort, trying to find that wave clear from a distance, but under so much threat right now. I mean, Kopek's hit level 16. This is what we were waiting for on this Kale. Could be an absolute monster in these fights. 5-0-4 has the death cap, the 8-stack Dark Seal. Keep your eyes on that Kale to absolutely rip through the opposing front lines. That True Shot Barrage finds multiple members as well. Going to retreat to the wave, though, are CBD. They're not trying to overforce. They're going to play on 2 lanes with the Ornn, and they might just get a turret for it.
Yeah, that 1-4 coming in pretty strong here. Of course, Ezreal going to just use that nice little ability, knock him down. Maybe going to have a team fight here. Ornhorn comes out.
Yeah, they find the multi-man knockup. Once again, it's just so easy to engage from such a far range onto the squishy carries when you have this Rek'Sai Ornn combination. It will be Don't Get Solo Killed who falls, but Taco Cat keeps on living on through that big old Divine Intervention from the Kale. So they go 1 for 2 there and basically winning the exchange. This Kale absolutely massive in the late game for CBD, and it's starting to look a little bit inevitable.
Yeah, of course, that Baron Siege going to be coming in strong, of course, extending that lead even further, almost to a 10k gold lead at this point for the side of CBD as we get the replay here.
Yeah, it's just a bit of an overextension. You know, Degenerates feeling themselves on the defense, but instead they go right into the trap, and we've seen this combo over and over again. The long-range knock-up onto the backline, Don't Get Solo Killed, hit that long-range snipe, and then use the ult to come in. This time, Kopek wasn't close enough to use the Divine Intervention on Rek'Sai to keep them from falling, but was still well used to keep Taco Cat alive, so in the end, they come out on top there.
Yeah, I think they saw the Gwen use that hollowed ground ability, and after that, it's kind of just easy to follow up for the Ornn. Can get that knock-up from such a long range and walk in. Maybe looking for a Fnatic brush here, though.
Yeah, it's a bit of that stage of the game, right? You're down 10k to a really hard scaling comp. You need to find some sort of play back. You've managed to stall and sort of finagle and finesse these macro moves to get yourself on the soul point, but you need to get a big pickup to keep yourself in it, so maybe that Death Brush could be the angle they use to do so. But Kobita is not going to allow them to find solace even in their own jungle. Approaching, knows it's going to take so long to kill him, can move up to try and get that advance notice.
Yeah, of course, and really it is that big game of vision now. Ezreal and Karma going to be able to get that poke over these walls. Maybe Kopech walking in pretty aggressively, though.
Yeah, they were using the buddy system there a little bit, and Glucose Poppy just hasn't felt the capability to pull the trigger against multiple members, and you can't blame them. It would be so hard to find anything productive, and now it just sort of lets the waves come up. This turret's clinging on for life.
And they're really going to try and force the issue here. It does look like, of course, Ezreal trying to get that push in the mid wave. But Facade going to be coming down as my fire alarm's going off.
Well, they must have seen the hot plays coming through in this game and figured that it was a fire going on. I hope you are safe and well. Comply with anything you need to do to get on out of there. I'll be fine by myself for a little while. Just stay safe, buddy. All right, here I am. I'm pulling double duty. We mentioned this in pregame. That's Kev who did this in their very first cast, and now it's my turn to do it. I got the color angle. I got the PvP angle. And maybe I do have Crow coming on in to help me. We'll have to see. But this is going to be the Ocean Soul point Drake for Degenerates if they can find a way into the pit. But that's going to be easier said than done in this game state, as Glucose Poppy can't even walk up to that first brush in the jungle to try and clear out vision on the approach. CBD basically having them in a headlock right now could take that Drake pretty much with ease unless a miracle comes on through.
Yep, miracle they will need indeed. Speaking of miracles, it's your boy, Beautiful Grow, hopping in while Kepo gets his fire situation sorted out. Man, Dodge, this has been a bloody game from both sides. A lot of wombo combo setups. This is one.
As we see another one coming on through. That's the call of the Forge God, but it actually doesn't find what it's found before. At least the GA is there to keep the Rek'Sai going, but it was the final chapter finding the lockup, and it will be Kobito's the first to fall. They do trade 1-for-1, but don't get soul kill goes on. Doesn't have the divine intervention. Kopech wasn't there. Facade going to pick up the kill on the Rek'Sai. This could be the turnaround they need with Vayne full health, but look at that Kale damage. It can't be underestimated. It can't be shrugged off, but Death still showing signs of life in this game.
Oh my goodness, Degenerates played that to the best of their ability that they could. The Ornhorn did come out from Kobita, but great Keeper's Verdict from Glucose Poppy to get Kopech out of that fight, because it is battle of the late game carries here. As you know, you have Persnickety on the Vayne and Kopech on the Kale, and like both of those hyperscaling late game carries showing, hey, if I get my autos first, this fight is going to be over.
Yes, we do have Kev stepping back into the booth. Welcome back, my friend. I hope all is well. But we got a 1-4-2 trade-up for Degenerates from 10k behind. It was pretty hype, but do they have the gas left in the tank to continue making these defenses work until they can find a win condition?
Yeah, it's going to become harder and harder here for them as that inhibitor tower is going to go down. It seems to be a little bit of a false alarm. Don't really know what's going on. Maybe a little bit of a bug flew into the alarm here as we get a nice replay.
Yeah, this team fight going on down as we broke down before. It's just Persnickety staying alive long enough, right? And Kopech wasn't there yet, didn't have the divine intervention that's made the difference in so many of these team fights so far. So it was a very nice effort from Degenerates to punish on the one-timer they had. We do see, though, they can't continue to go forward at the end, even with the man advantage, because this Kale is just so strong in the late game. And that doesn't necessarily bode well for their capability to win this game in the end, even if they do find these trade-ups. But chunking out Kopech might just give them that capability ahead of a Baron fight.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're about to get both teams here ready for another neutral objective, this Baron being eyed up by both sides. Some good vision setup, and this is exactly what you want to see from CBD. Got that vision over the wall, can get these Mantra Qs and hopefully some Ezreal Qs over this wall, get some damage on even before they try to set up for this Baron. But going to be kind of hard here, testing midway for both sides. Ornhorn going to come out, though.
Yeah, Glucose Poppy taking oh so low in the front line, but there's the keeper's verdict to try and even the odds a little bit, but it will be Kiora going unstoppable. Persnickety trying to kite it out, trying to find the damage, and doing so very effectively so far, but then the Divine Intervention comes in, says, no, 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 you can't kill my Ornn, Miss Vayne. We are going to rout you in this fight. We are going to chase you back. You and your little cat have to run all the way home because the Baron's our next prize on the menu.
Yeah, and good job getting the KO out of the fight there, even if it was momentary. Almost turning that fight for Persnickety, but like you said, Baron on the table here, it should be a pretty easy contest.
Yeah, the DPS coming out from the Kale is just absolutely nasty. Matches at least that of the Vayne onto the neutral objectives. They are looking for some sort of angle, though, but the True Shot Barrage, Mantra Q, it's exactly what you've been touching on all game. The poke from CBD just means these objectives are not approachable for Degenerates.
Yeah, and that Siege going to come in even stronger. One of those inhibitor turrets is already down. Maybe going to look to crack that one on the bottom side as well. Maybe pick up some inhibitors here with this Baron. Going to make it even harder for DES to get back into this one. But really going to be very important that they do play these pushes right. I want to make sure that our waves are synced at least as much as we can, or that we're all just grouping together pushing that one wave.
Yeah, and it's feeling very, very difficult for this siege to be repelled with that purple armor being worn by the minions with this 12k gold lead. I mean, look at Facade, absolutely deleted. CC not even necessary. The Keeper's Verdict going to try and do something, but that's just the absolute pop coming through onto Surfkill, as this should be game one in short order going over to the side of the Dragons. They find their first inhib, and they are not stopping anytime soon. Boulder and Persnickety, what can you do here? That's the ult popped from the Vayne. She's trying to kite that, but the knockup comes through. The Divine Intervention as well. It's rinse, wash, repeat. We've seen it so many times, and it works once again as Persnickety does fall. It's Poppy against the world, but it's not going to be nothing there, as it will be game number one going to the Dragons. They're going to knock down this Nexus turret and take us here in VAS Week 2 to game number 2. What an effort from them. They absolutely crushed it.
Yeah, very well played. Like we said at the beginning, don't get soul killed. Taking over in the early game, absolutely phenomenal. See Kale scales pretty well, doing a lot of damage there in the late game. Well played, and I'm looking forward to see if we get anything maybe a little bit more spicy, but also really looking to see what these junglers especially do decide to do in this next game.
Yeah, we already saw pretty spicy stuff with the Rek'Sai. The way it worked with the Kale in the late game was actually really cool. Normally, Rek'Sai gets bursted trying to do those early game things by running in, but when you pair it with the Divine Intervention, it looks really effective in the late game. We'll have to see if that makes another showing in game number 2, but that will, of course, be on the other side of a short break. Stay right where you are. We'll be back soon. All right, y'all, we are back and raring to go for game number 2. We've got a host of changes coming on in terms of the rosters that we will be seeing. Mostly on the Degenerates side, it looks like they've been changing things up. We got Bixus coming in to play AD carry, Risky in the mid lane, and Akira there in the jungle. I'm Infinite Dodge. I'm joined once again by Kevbo. Kev, what do we need to see Degenerates do here in game number 2 to have a little bit of a cleaner game and hopefully bring us to a game 3 as compared to what they did in game 1?
Well, I knew what I wanted to see, and then they changed all their players, so I'm not really sure what to think now. Obviously, they have a plan in mind. I definitely think I'd like to see a little bit more early game from their side to see if we can get some prio on these lanes, of course. And really, I'd love to see them get Kobita more of a carry on the top side. I think they had a very good opportunity to carry with the attention they got from their jungler, able to kind of put Boulder, I think, pretty far behind throughout the game. If they were to get onto a carry, I think it would be a pretty nice switch for Dragons. Degenerates, though, like I said, I just want to see some more proactivity and maybe a little bit more early game.
Well, I will tell you one key to the puzzle that they've identified is getting that Kale off the board. They've gotten rid of it. It will be a different mid laner coming through for Kopech this time around. And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the structure of the team fights for the Dragons last game was very much built around Kale, putting that divine intervention on one of the initiators. So I like to see that one taken away by Degenerates. They're already adapting and adjusting. Zillion will be the final takeaway from them as well. So continuing to see a lot of what we did in game 1, but this time around, no Kale, because Kale always works in Victoris. I'm sorry, Shogun, my PvP over on VRS Thursdays, who hates Kale, but it always wins. You can't beat it. But that's real exciting. First pick, we got the new and improved Olaf coming on through.
Yeah, and like we said, or like I said before we went to that break, very important, I think, for both sides to get these proactive junglers, as well as going to see that Tristana for the early game coming in, of course, does have a big impact late as well. Early game, it appears, is their focus as well. Going to see a Pantheon come out. We'll have to wait and see where that one does end up going. I would assume probably support, but can be flexed some other places.
Yeah, should be able to fill in both solo lanes or maybe even the jungle, but when you see the Tristana picked up, right, it's like, okay, this is our all-in lane early. We're just going to try and absolutely smash through bot, which is where Degenerates found their advantages last game, right? Even on an ADC that isn't necessarily meant to do that in the early game with the Vayne, so they could be really scary with an all-in kill lane here. Meanwhile, CB Dragons trying to do more of the same, which didn't really work for them last game, but it's looking like it's going to be more of that jungle attention through the solo lanes, and maybe another Karma Ezreal angle, just, you know, champs that are really good at kiting it out, kiting it back, poking from afar, and not really having to go too all in on their style of play.
Yeah, and of course range is really what you want to see into this engaged lane, but instead going to flex to that Kai'Sa. Very, I think, interesting pick, meta considered, but I'm sure it is probably a comfort thing for Kioria. We'll have to wait and see how that one does go down. Olaf, though, like you said, on Don't Get Solo Killed, had a pop-off game on the Rek'Sai. I'd imagine we're going to see a lot of that early ganks coming out, as well as we get the Wukong, so answering that aggression with a little bit of aggression of their own.
Yeah, and it should be so reliable in the team fights. You have two of these go forward, jump in on them characters now. Risky picking up probably for Akira, going to be that Wukong in the jungle. Could be top for Boulder as well, though. Can get in, get that Cyclone spinning up, find the knockup, let Tristana free hit or jump in and get those resets. So it should be a very tight game plan coming through from Degenerates this time around. But as we move into the second phase of bans, it's going to be Ornn taken off the table. I quite like that. Going to force CB Dragons to play a different style this time around and prove they can do it without this preconceived game plan of the Kale and Rek'Sai combination. I think it's good to get these disruptions in early.
Yeah, absolutely. And as well, it would appear that Dragons, even though they won mid lane last game, don't want to see any more mid lane. Going to keep on banning them out. Do see a Kled ban come in that is pretty focused towards Boulder. Did get a win on that last week, but we'll have to wait and see what the blind pick is for Degenerates here.
Yeah, they are going to be saving one of those picks as a counter. That's Diana. That could be mid, that could be jungle. They have so much flex potential right now due to Degenerates.
Yeah, I think that definitely is important here. We'll have to wait and see where they do end up going. I would imagine at this point, though, that it's probably going to be Wukong top, Diana jungle. I haven't really seen Diana flex mid a whole lot. Of course, it can be, but definitely is stronger on that jungle path. Mordekaiser going to come out as a possible answer to that Wukong, though. Should be pretty strong. Of course, send him to the Nether Realm. Pretty big into the Wukong.
What happens if you Death Realm the clone? I don't think I've ever seen that go. Does it just not go through? I have never played that interaction. Somebody in chat who's more experienced with that matchup than me, let me know. But we see the final pickup. It's going to be Nautilus, so Karma mid, I suppose. This has been a bit of a curveball coming through from the Dragons, but this is something LS always talks about. Soul Lane Enchanters make Olaf scale much more reliably than he does on his own, so it's a nice little synergistic pickup once again from the Dragons. They obviously have a plan.
Yeah, and of course, don't get solo killed kind of did pop off in that last game, giving him another big opportunity for that one. And it looks like it will be the Diana mid lane coming in for Degenerates.
Assume. I mean, you have a range.
Wukong mid? Question mark.
They have so much flex potential, I can't even... My brain's too small. It's starting to hurt. I can't even begin to figure out what's going on here. We are going to have to wait a second to see what the lock-ins will be before we even start to make sense of this. The one thing I think I know for sure is that it's going to be that Pantheon support, because it's the only thing that's even close to a support that they got right now, despite the fact they have 4 champions who can all play both soul lanes in certain circumstances. So, Degenerates maybe trying to go 500 IQ to put themselves over the top, where they failed to do so in Game 1, but I do see this bot lane potentially being a big, strong point for them going into Game 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if we can even say that for sure. I mean, Wukong is played with Senna a lot. Could be flexed to the support. Highly unlikely, I think. I think you're right. It probably is the Pantheon. We'll have to wait and see. But going to be pretty interesting. Like you said, a lot of flex potential coming in from Degenerates. I'm definitely looking towards this bot lane to try and take over this early game, see what they can do, especially with what we're thinking is probably this very aggressive Pantheon support pick does fall off quite a bit in the later stages of the game, so I'd imagine going to want to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, they're going to have to get that snowball going pretty fast and hard to, find that efficacy for the Pantheon. But we saw them do it last time around with the Vayne Yuumi lane. I mean, they made absolute fools out of the CB Dragons bot lane. Don't get solo killed was just spending all the time top lane, bullying Boulder, picking on, it wasn't Risky last game around, forgive me, it was Facade, picking on Facade a little bit in that mid lane, and meanwhile Vayne was just getting stronger and stronger. In the end, couldn't really stand up to the synergistic comp of the Dragons, but still a big strong point for the Degenerates, so we'll see if Tristana can do it even harder this time around, has all that early game power, and a monster scaler as well.
Yeah, and we're going to see the lock-ins come in. It is what we thought going to be that Wukong in the
as we do get the correction from production that it is going to be Mordekaiser mid and Karma top. It's flexes everywhere. Who can make any sense of it?
Yeah, I mean, Tank Karma is going to be super strong into that top line. I think maybe was originally designed to be in that mid lane, but saw the into Aatrox. I'd imagine it is a pretty strong counter. So we're going to have to wait and see on that one. But for now, going to be really, I think, interesting drafts from both sides. Who we favoring here?
I'm really feeling it for Degenerates this time around. I feel like they've drafted themselves so much potential to really just run away with the bot lane early. And I don't know, CB Dragon's comp's feeling a little bit low damage for me. Last game they had such great scaling locked in with the Ornn and the Kayle, who are allowed to run rampant. But this time around, I don't really see where the damage comes from in the late game if the Kai'Sa's put behind, which we kind of expect her to be. So I'm definitely favoring Degenerate spawn here. I think we're going to be going to 3 games.
All right, well, with that, I believe we are about ready to head into game. We're going to throw it to a little bit of a break, but we'll be right back at you with Game 2 here in just a second.
Here we are. It is that time once again. It is CB Dragons versus Degenerate Spawn here in game number 2. CBD up 1-0 in this 3-game series to kick off week 2 of the VAS. I'm Infinite Dodge, joined by Kevbo, and we see another 5-man stack coming out.
Yeah, looking for maybe something spicy here. Expecting a possible engage, I'd imagine, with the Nautilus, of course, always going to be strong level 1, but not going to go for it. Just that patented 5-point coming out from Dragons here on the blue side this time. Looking to maybe switch things up on both sides, but of course, important early game things going to be seeing where these junglers do start and do decide to path. Very important.
Yeah, and it looks like with that 5-point defense, not going to be any early action that the Degenerates were hoping for, pulling that group together on both sides of the map in both games of this series so far. Will be maybe a bit of a parallel clear coming out, moving bot to top for both sides, which leaves room for all sorts of shenanigans in what should be an action-packed bot lane.
Yeah, absolutely, and we are seeing this Mordekaiser mid lane, definitely a spicy pick. Still going with the exhaust, though.
Yeah, Kopek has a bit of a pattern, I guess. Or rather, no, it was Facade last time who went the exhaust. So it's blue side laners and exhaust in this game. Might make it a little bit easier to find the chase down inside of the Death Realm on too risky. I do like the idea of the Mordekaiser in this mid lane matchup, right? Melee versus melee. Should be able to get on down this Diana's throat and really get that damage to stick.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for, of course. Getting that passive early, of course. Taco throws out a hook, going to go just wide here. But both junglers, like you said, going to path bot to top. Of course, it's going to be a little bit easier on that red side to clear.
Yeah. Level 2 did come through first for the Degenerates. We were sort of waiting with bated breath to see how that bot lane was going to go with this hyper-aggressive pair. And they get a nice trade, but no first blood picked up.
Yeah, still forcing them off, though. Really big here. Get that early vision, walk into river, and establish just this point of control on this bot side from the very beginning, of course. Wukong going to look to clear camps pretty fast here in the early game, and then I'd imagine look to start ganking on the second rotation of these camps. Trading in the mid lane going pretty even, though, for Kopek and Risky. Wukong.
And Katakura is here. That's the playful trickster coming on in, going to force the immediate flash from Kopek. It was good reflexes. Maybe if they were a bit slower on the jump there, could have resulted in something a little bit more, but that's a nice pickup for Degenerates. They get a summoner spell.
And forcing out these summoners all across the map here. And of course, the push still coming in from this Tristana, naturally going to push those waves pretty fast with the passive. Of course, that priority going to mean a lot for them, as it looks like Kira is going to have prio in all lanes at the beginning of this game here.
Yeah, it's going to make things easier for this Wukong. Should be able to find a lot of fun angles with that new and improved W that can hop over walls now. I believe that was as of 12.8, so definitely going to be a very, very good look for the Monkey King. And now the wave is going to push back out from CBD, so this could leave their bot lane a little bit vulnerable, as right as we say it. There goes Persnickety. The exhaust goes down. First blood picked up for Bixus there. Taco Cat could even fall next. At least gets the Spider-Man to get on out, but that's the advantage we exactly expected to see is on the cross map. It's answered, but it's going to be the 1-for-1 as Don't Get Solo killed. Couldn't quite escape the turret range.
Yeah, just a good hover there from Akira on the opposite side of the map. 1-2v2 bot side, exactly what you want to see, like we were saying, for Bixus and Persnickety, picking up that early kill, getting this snowball going. Still good pathing by the junglers. Expected a nice hover there from Akira.
Yeah, as we do see some more trading going down the mid lane. No sixes for either of these players, but that exhaust proving so clutch for Kopech. Cuts the damage from Risky, makes that not a risky play whatsoever, and does actually answer back the flash in return. So it's a nice trade up in summoners for Kopech. But we do see the bot lane utilizing their priority to try and roam. Maybe they can catch Tackle Cat on the way back, but going to take the start way, going to take the safe way is Taco Cat, not going to get caught out there.
Yeah, and they're definitely looking to funnel this Tristana. Already taking the Scuttle Crab, I wouldn't be surprised if they start taking some of these camps as well if they're up. Tank Karmic top, just doing her thing, pushing with Q. Both junglers, though, I'd imagine going to start working their way towards this drag.
Yeah, Auto Director loves top lane for some reason, but there's nothing doing up here. These guys are going to play ping pong with the waves until the cows come home. What has been very interesting in this matchup, of course, is that bot lane. It's exactly where we expected the action to be, and it'll be, left to be seen if Degenerates do focus some ganks their way, right? Because they didn't really do it last game. Meanwhile, they were getting ganked in their solo lanes a lot. As we see another sort of rumble in the mid lane, but still no sixes there. As we see jungler versus jungler combat. Who's going to show up first? Pantheon coming on in, finds the stun, finds the kill, but can they answer one back onto Akira? Yes, he does tick down, but you've put yourself in harm's way. Kiora and Taco Cat having to run for the hills, but Bixus jumping in does get exhausted, isolated from the support, but look at that snipe over the wall from Persnickety. They trade places with the flashes back onto Kiora. That was a sick little turnaround there as Degenerates do find another one skirmish. It is the 1-for-2. They're up 4-2 as that's the late flash out from the Void Seeker, but still big wins coming up for Degenerates.
Yeah, very well played by Degenerates. Like you said, a very good job, I think, by Kioria there at the end, forcing out the flash with that Void Seeker. Very importantly, Akira has been in place to cover the Olaf ganks pretty much every single time, catching him out, of course. Don't get solo killed on the Olaf, going to have a really strong first few levels here, especially once they get that level 6. Becoming unstoppable and just running in is going to be super strong into this comp that is honestly pretty squishy from the side of Degenerates. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, well, be quite the challenge for them moving forward here, especially with a little bit of this lead for Degenerates. Haven't turned that into the first Drake yet. Did pick up the first 2 last time around before being curtailed in their capability to, or rather their ambitions to get that Ocean Soul last time. So we'll see if they can stack the Drakes a bit more effectively this time around. As Kopech and Risky eyeing each other down. They've been really hot under the collar to get at each other and trade blows all through this game, but nothing really resulting from that lane yet, the only lane that hasn't seen action. But now it will be Degenerates getting onto the Mountain Drake, and CBD not really much to do about it besides trying to take some camps in the top side.
Yeah, and they are doing that very well. Olaf already took Krug's, going to take this respawn on the red buff as well, it would appear, but I'd imagine we're going to see both these teams possibly work their way towards the top side, and that Rift Heralded. Kopech, of course, though, I do want to point out, has been doing a very good job of getting that passive out on the Mordekaiser, making these trades just a little bit easier.
Yeah, even finding the CS advantage off the back of it, really playing in the face of Risky, no fear. That's what you want to see from the Mordekaiser in the early game, because it's not necessarily the best champion as the game goes later. As now we see some action up in the top lane. This is Boulder. We've seen that script before, just isolated and caught out in the 2v1. Not much to be doing about it, as now we see Kopech and Akira in the Death Realm trying to flash out in time. The double Cyclone could come through under the turret, but is it too much? Yes, it's going to be just the 1-for-1. Persnickety coming all the way up just to watch his jungler die.
Yeah, a little bit of a misplay and a deep dive by Akira. Of course, that is going to mean that Risky is going to get that push in. Maybe gets caught out by the Olaf here. Doesn't have flash.
Yeah, the flash undertow picks up the axe. Can you find it? The E, the oh no, that's going to be the return kill from Persnickety. I thought it was going to be the fly away from don't get solo killed. I thought he had the heist completed, but this Pantheon right on the money to pick it back up. So CBD not really finding too many uncontested advantages here.
Yeah, and Persnickety 3-0-1 on this Pantheon already, going to be very, very strong in these upcoming team fights, and I'm not really sure how much we're going to be able to see CBD contest these neutral objectives as we get further and further towards this mid game. Going to, of course, just push that wave and set up vision again.
It's been the non-stop priority for the side of Degenerate Spawn. They're roaming through the river. Is this bot lane once again? Bixis and Persnickety doing it all for their team right now as we see the Wombo coming through the drop-in over the top. I mean, this is just unfair. Kopek getting absolutely mobbed in the mid lane, and that opens up the side of Degenerates to move right to the Rift Herald.
Yeah, like you said, very well set up. Diana gets on top, roots him in place, Pantheon over the top. Tristana going in with that rocket jump as well. Just no chance there for Kopek, getting absolutely bullied with those with that global from the Pantheon.
Yeah, it's very, very scary stuff to see a Roman Centurion just jump in on you from above and absolutely delete you, especially with that very nice Rune Pantheon in Persnickety is walking, but don't get solo killed, getting invaded on now. This is what you love to see with the Wukong. Risky going to be the beneficiary of that one.
Yeah, and Akira just absolutely taking over on this Wukong all over the map, as well as just covering for their laners here, going to really return some of that CS disadvantage and even push their advantage even more with that invade there.
Yeah, it's been Kopek really the only one feeling good after this early game, and even then has the 2 deaths. Basically a reversal of fortune from last time around. We've seen Akira be sort of that driving force of the early game like we saw the Rek'Sai of Don't Get Solo Killed do last time around. And with the bot lane continuing to win, it feels like this time Degenerates is really short up their weaknesses.
Yeah, absolutely. That early prio and early power coming in clutch. Taco doesn't quite know, I think everyone's here.
Yeah, that's just an absolutely eliminated support. No time to proc, anything to keep yourself tankier, as that ultimate from Bixis doesn't connect with Don't Get Solo Killed, but the spear does! Persnickety just keeps finding him to rack up these kills.
And this is just going to mean even more gold fed to Bixis here. Mordekaiser are looking for a little bit of a roam.
Yeah, as you pointed out, the Rift Herald did go down to try and feed Bixis, but at the very least, Kopek might be able to bully them off. No, they still have numbers advantage here. It's the jump on in. Bixis has no fear, and things are quickly getting out of control here. Degenerates up about 4K.
Yeah, absolutely. And this bot lane for Degenerates absolutely popping off. A collective, what is that? 7-0-7 from the bot lane coming in. Tower plates going down across the board. I've gotten almost all of the tower and bot lane. Got 3 of those plates in the mid lane. And Boulder, still having an interesting time on the top side. But definitely not as bad as the last game, as they're going to pop the ult and maybe look for something here.
Yeah, the flash wasted. Unfortunate for Boulders. We do take a look at this individual gold coming on through. Bixis leading the pack in this game up at 5,300. Thank you, Cam, for bringing that back up for me and using that bot lane priority. They are going to force on this Drake. Once again, it's not a second Mountain Drake. Don't worry. The client's just broken because Riot doesn't care about Spectator. Hextech doesn't have its own icon, so sometimes it just inherits a random one. But what the Degenerates do have is that Hextech Drake and another chance at Kopek, who just can't catch a break. Going to fall into that Wombo. Even Persnickety coming in from above to get in on the party. He's dominating now from the support role.
Yeah, absolutely popping off on this Pantheon, of course. Going to get the Starfall on in and pick up yet another kill. Trying to get this mid lane tower plates down. They're not going to quite pick up that one, but of course, don't solo killed.
Yeah, we've seen this script before, but it didn't work out quite this well last time for Degenerates. Indeed, it will be actually the 1-for-1 again. Persnickety. We saw that exact same play last time around, but it was a 1-for-1. This time it was a 2-for-1 coming through for Don't Get Solo Killed, so you'll actually take that from CBD. The Olaf chasing down 2 members there. The healing absolutely nuts from this new reworked Olaf. His sustain is so crazy at low health.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that Rage going to be able to come in and be unstoppable, going to make it pretty easy, I think, to get onto this Tristana in the team fights. Of course, trading still going on back and forth in top side.
Poor Kopech, man. Goes into the death realm, gets the exhaust down, but even with the built-up passive bar, just doesn't have enough shielding to even 1v1 the support with their stolen stats down there. That Serpent's Fang doing so much work and breaking through those shields.
Yeah, absolutely, and Bixus should be able to probably pick up this mid tower here. Of course, Taco going to try and deny that one as much as they can. Going to rocket jump out.
It's a sad world when the Nautilus is under that turret, and I'll try and catch the wave, guys. I mean, if Bixus went ham, might have even been able to find the kill there, had both sums up, but just going to be content with shoving the wave. But things looking really dire for CBD. They're down 5k here and 2 Drakes at 15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely, and they don't really have too much scaling on their side. Of course, Mordekaiser can do maybe something.
Yeah, Risky going to be forced to flash there, so a nice little return pickup for CBD, but they're going to trade this mid lane turret for it. Maybe? Persnickety? Not going to force the issue. Kopech, now maybe in an even fight, can find the 1v1 with the support, but the damage is so high from Persnickety! Are you kidding me? Oh, dang, near 1v1 to the mid laner there, but finally gets shut down.
And got that shut down onto the Olaf as well, just going to accelerate them even more. Hook comes in.
Yeah, Boulder having a rough time once again this game, going to be the sacrificial lamb with that Ragnarok up. It was too dangerous to go in onto solo killed, can't find the CC. Meanwhile, Kiora in the bot lane making the best of the chaos, going to try and find a tier 1 for themselves as well. Not going to quite get it, but shoves another wave and should be able to pick up a good amount of gold.
Yeah, and these objective bounties already up. Akira, though, not quite going to have the vision they need to get down there and get this gank off. But maybe going to see a swing back in the gold just a little bit with these objective bounties if CBD can pick those up, of course. Good vision setup, it looks like, coming in right before this next drag.
Yeah, 90 seconds to go on the Infernal Drake hitting the Rift. That would be so huge for Degenerate's comp. They have so much damage as it is. Adding in that extra burst would make them absolutely deadly.
Yeah, for sure. And Akira is still all over the map, going to look for a little bit of a trade onto Kobita as we look towards this next neutral objective that's going to come up. Degenerates still haven't been able to take this mid lane tower, though. I think that's been very important for the side of CBD. Of course, once that tower goes down, just going to unlock the roam from this Pantheon even more.
Yeah, allows them to move that line of scrimmage forward, get the deeper vision without having to worry about getting caught out around that tier 1. And it's hanging on for dear life. It's real close to being taken down. Haven't quite been able to do it yet. In the meanwhile, it is Don't Get Solo Killed, who does pick up an objective bounty augmented Rift Herald for the side of CBD. So we'll see where that does get put to use. But it's Kopech versus Boulder, and I think I know who wins this one. Boulder continuing to get picked on a little bit, but Don't Get Solo Killed continuing to move forward. Persnickety can't stop him this time around, does block out a lot of the damage, allows Bixus to free fire, but the healing is so insane from the Olaf, as though Boulder wanted to prove me wrong, though. They immediately turn the fight in the top side, so a shutdown for CBD, but Degenerates not out of it yet. Now it's all coming down to this Drake.
Yeah, Akira going to pick that one up nice and easily.
Yeah, the shutdown was so huge into the backline, but will it be the counter kill onto Akira? No, saved that W to get away, but it will be the solo laner who falls. CBD not looking to be tapping out of this game, yet they have full priority around this Drake after winning that fight.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they needed. Don't get solo killed, just running in on the Olaf. Picks up a few quick, easy kills, of course. Lots of damage, lots of healing coming out from the Olaf with that Gore Drinker, and Akira?
Yeah, Persnickety coming in. Akira's here. Can they find this 2v3? Maybe they can with all the gold, but no, Persnickety just absolutely taken out. That's a bit of a head-scratcher there, as they will maybe find it on. Kobita has the heal coming through with that empowered Mantra W. Does finally find it, but they at least bully Degenerates. Oh my goodness, they bully CBD off the Drake, and now they have the deep TP coming in as well. Risky behind, they absolutely turned this play around. It looked good for CBD for a moment, but they can't even pick up that Infernal as more members of Degenerates hit the Rift.
Yeah, and really just stalled that one out just enough for Bixus to show up. Drag started again by CBD, though.
Yeah, we'll see if they can convert. Risky comes in, finds the Drake and the double Moonfall. Now it's going to be the jungler for the Dragons who does fall in return. At least Kopek gets a shutdown, but Bixus can just rocket jump on away, let Boulder sustain on through, can come in to find any DPS that might be necessary as Kobita, way too little, way too late, going to get taken out, but the empowered Mantra Q at least answers back to Tristana as Bixus has fallen. It was an absolute bloodbath around that Drake pit. That was maybe a 3-minute Drake fight. That was a doozy.
Yeah, a really long one, like you said, traded back and forth, and a great pickup with the Moonfall from Risky onto that drag. Is able to continue this Drake stacking for Degenerates as we get our replay here. Going to have a little bit of a scuff fight at the start coming in. Akira going to walk it out. And really well played at the beginning here by the side of CBD, going to stall this one even further, of course, as we're going to hopefully get to the point here in a few minutes. Of course, you see Tristana and Pantheon immediately walking down already, and their drag take, it just isn't quick enough here. So start this one again. Akira is going to do nothing but stall. I don't know why they turned instead of finishing it. Pantheon comes in. Nice entrance. And I think it's very important here. Kiora stayed alive just enough to win that fight, of course. But Akira is still being just that annoyance. And Bixus with just a nice, easy cleanup. That kill. Rocket jump to another kill coming in. As we switch back to live, we're going to have a Herald dropped in the mid lane.
Yeah, this is Herald number 2. Not nearly as valuable as Herald number 1, of course, but we'll find a little bit of chip damage on the mid-tier 1. Things looking a little bit dicey for CBD at this point. They did manage to find some decent place to start off that Drake, but it just didn't go their way in the end, and now we see that the Tristana's on 2.5 items. I think their biggest hope right now, Kev, is for this Pantheon to continue falling off. We've already seen it be a little bit less effective than it was to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're going to see maybe a drag sneak here from Degenerates.
Yeah, it looks like they have no idea. Risky and Persnickety even coming in from behind. They avoid the Scuttlecrab Relic. This is just going to go over, you have to feel.
Yeah, absolutely, and the siege with this Tristana is already kind of insane, so pairing a Baron buff on top of that at 22 minutes, their siege is going to be kind of insane.
Yeah, especially you see Bixus already at the level 12 mark, almost keeping pace with the solo laners or both of the AD carries in this game. Going to access so much more range for Bixus could make these sieges, as you say, really, really spooky. Where are CBD going to find victories in these mid-game teamfights if they are going to come back in this game? Because it looks like right now Degenerates really have the run of everything.
Yeah, I really think they just have to hope for an overextension here from Degenerates, of course. Important to set up vision in your own jungle. Make sure you don't get starved out of that, and we'll also potentially give you the opportunity to get Taco Cat in on maybe a pick if you have a few members group up, of course. But going to have Akira here move in and try to clear that out. Objective bounties are also going to be kind of important. Get some of that gold swinging back in the right direction. The gold lead has stayed around the same for now, but the same is around 4K at the moment, so still a really rough one for CBD.
Yeah, definitely so, especially with some more standing gold left on the map to be collected, hopefully, with this Baron buff for Degenerate spawn. They can get these side lane tier 2s, which are big old gold pinatas, just full of doubloons for them to pick up and add to their coin purses. Scuttlecrab as well going to mean even more vision control. You look at the river, and it's just this giant line of vision all through the map for the side of Degenerates. Meanwhile, it's a couple of sad, lonely wards on their own side for COD. Definitely going to have to make the best use possible of the limited vision they have. They want to find any picks ahead of this dragon in just 40 seconds.
Yeah, I'm honestly a little bit surprised by Degenerates there. I would have expected after they set up that vision to try to get those last backs in. Instead, just decided to walk mid, push the wave a little bit, and continue setting this up. But of course, it does give CBD a little bit of an opportunity to come in and clear this vision before the drag goes down.
Yeah, definitely so. We do see, however, the Diana on the top side. It's risky going to be finding actually really effective pushing with that passive on the Diana, and the high AP numbers going to be doing a load to those turrets. And now it will be CBD with the better setup on the Drake and the numbers advantage, but look at this Diana just free splitting down top side.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've
And it
actually,
looks like-
I'm sorry, they've done the full flank switcheroo. They're just going for the base.
yeah,
They get the.
absolutely.
I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry. Please continue.
I was just gonna say, and they are going to get, it looks like, 2 inhibitors here. Risky trying to get that 1v2 on the top side, not quite going to be enough. But really effective, gives up that one Infernal Drag, isn't going to go do too much, but picks up 2 inhibitors in the trade. Honestly, pretty worth.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big brain maneuver from Degenerates. They basically said they've gotten full priority on the Drake, but we're on sole point. They've sort of maneuvered around us, but we can make this double fork formation, play on 2 lanes, take down 2 inhibs, and at this point, they basically have full control of the map trade for 1 measly Infernal Drake. What does that matter to them? It was a really good move to just go full commit on the turrets there.
Yeah, and I'm honestly a little bit surprised to see CBD not try to force them in towards their base. Of course, they maybe would have had a little bit of a man advantage on that bot side if they tried to pincer them into the base, but not going for that one. Of course, Bixis is going to be really hard to win team fights against unless they get them down early.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely like the perspective of we as the casters are. We see it's only a 4K gold lead for this game state isn't really all that much, but when you're playing this game state as CBD, you might be a little bit gun shy. You might not want to, go for these big plays to try and save the game because you might feel that there's no chance you'll win these fights. It might feel like you're even further behind than numerically you are, just because they've been sort of getting washed across the board so far. So that hesitation definitely hurting them there in that instance.
Yeah, absolutely. They were able to lay a lot of that deep vision we were talking about, though, on that invade. Still focusing towards the bot side. Mid lane, really hard to take at this point, but hopefully should be able to get a chance to get onto those towers with the push from both of these super minion waves on the sides. We'll see what formation they do decide to set up, whether they go for just an all-out push or they go for what's looking like might be a 1-4. Of course, the waves aren't quite synced the way you'd hope they would be at this point, so maybe a collapse can come in.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they choose to do it. It does look like they're grouping up mid for that 1-4 like you called, but the wave clear not bad from the side of CBD. But look at Aatrox just sneaking on in there. It will be Kobita who does take the back to try and respond to that, but that opens up that top side. Maybe we'll see Degenerates get some vision down.
Yeah, it's looking really juicy right now for that weak side police. Callista and Nautilus already walking down, but they might just trade the respawn of the Baron for this.
Yeah, they do have a little bit of time, do CBD, to get back up here. It's 25 seconds left to go on that Baron spawn, but the Aatrox just sort of passively attracting all this attention really does make it hard for them to commit as a unit up there, because Aatrox can just keep threatening the base. I don't know if Kobita can win the 1v1, but Taco Cat definitely can't win the 1v5 as he does get jumped on, but the turnaround from the team actually pretty good. Persnickety taken low, going to be taken out. Now it's the Cyclone trying to find the return damage. Bixis finds the enemy jungler, but Kopek goes into the Death Realm. Now it's Boulder who TP'd in from the base siege, and it will be Degenerates who find the fight. You have to feel Kopek might be able to shield up a little bit, but Bixis actually going to be taken out in the end. Can they turn this around? Kopek going to do it, and that is the 3 for 4 in the end for CBD. They actually managed that defense, but the Winions are in the base.
Yeah, and it looks like Bixis maybe a little bit too aggressive on that Tristana, rocket jumping into several members. Kiora going to be able to get back and clear these waves a little bit, and a really well won fight for the side of CBD. As we see here, I believe Persnickety went in early on to don't get solo killed with the good vision setup they have, but of course a little bit of over-aggression. Bixis, I believe, was untouched at the beginning of this fight, but just not able to get in range to get a lot of those autos off. We see them pick up one here. Of course, don't get solo killed, goes forward, and survives for a very long time, but that turn, AFK not quite getting the damage they needed, and there's where you see Bixis go just a little bit too far forward. taken out by Kiora. Able to turn it around, of course, while Kope kind of just gets the passive up and just autos away on the Aatrox and Wukong there on the top side. It looks though like Degenerates are going to set up for this Baron once again.
Yeah, definitely so, but the evening out that resulted of that fight is really nothing to be scoffed at, as they might just be able to burst this down without any contest. That'll be a nice pickup for them, but they're going to trade another Infernal Drake to do it, it looks like. And if we could just get the individual gold for a moment, I want to point out we got 311 CS on Kai'Sa. This is a 3-item Kai'Sa. Kiora quietly farming in the side lanes through this whole game, actually going to be able to match Bixus in a lot of ways in these team fights, as we saw it come through just then and there. And as these inhibs respawn for CBD, they're not really under the threat they once were. They're going to have to work together to repel this Baron Siege, though.
Yeah, that's the really important part right here, is that with the siege from this Baron buff cannon minion and the Tristana that takes towers very quickly, going to have a bit of an issue. Akira going to look for that push in the side lane, going to have Aatrox, or I guess Diana here, walk down towards the other side. You really want to see CBD maybe engage here if they can. Taco Cat fishing for something.
Yeah, Kiora goes into that E, but is just going to get caught, and the Moonfall does live thanks to the Locket of the Iron Solari, but now it's Boulder finding the multi-man knockups, but Risky pulled into the Death Realm does mean that they will just be taken out. It's CBD who spring the jaws of the trap there. They punish the Siege coming on through, and they only lose one inhib so far. If they can get out with just losing that, they'll be very happy, as Persnickety is even going to fall as well. Kite Akira forced to scramble on out, swing from branch to branch like a monkey does, and just try and fly off on that Nimbus clad that Wukong does possess. So that's a nice base defense coming through from CBD. I mean, a 3k gold lead at 31 minutes really isn't that significant. Things looking pretty good at this point.
Yeah, a little bit too spread out there, I think, from Degenerates, and going to have a lot of towers, it looks like, traded back here, and maybe even a negative Baron here, going to get at least the tier 1 and tier 2 mid lane. We'll have to wait and see if they do pick anything else up, but did get that inhibitor on the bot side, did get that mid lane inhibitor tower, so do have nothing but exposed inhibitors for the side of CBD here at the moment. Can always possibly look for some spicy backdoor from the Degenerate side, but we'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, definitely so. As you know, it's as you point out, with the 3 exposed inhibs, it's definitely like a magnet pulling you back towards your base. You can't be too over aggressive. You can't punish mistakes as hard. One advantage they do have going for them, though, the Dragons, is they do have those Nexus turrets still. So the backdoor are going to be pretty difficult. They're going to have to, repel at least one more siege before the backdoor comes into effect, and they are going to start to play on multiple lanes. Are Degenerates once again, but now it's Kopek in the Death Realm trying to punish Boulder. This TP, just a TP right to the death, though, is Kobita forced to flash immediately and just going to be taken out. That might be the game. Quick as that, as the Cyclone is into the back line. It's going to be Akira rooted up and burst down by the Kai'Sa, who finds the capability to DPS as Kopek does finally fall. It will be the shutdown going over to the Pantheon. Not where you want it this late in the game, as the Pantheon comes on back over the top. Who has the team fight? Who can do it? It's not Kiora. The Kai'Sa is gone. Can the Olaf 1v5 with the healing, with the sustain, with the Gordringer gets knocked away? Actually going to appreciate that greatly. Bixus basically ulting him to safety as we see the TP coming in from Boulder into the top side, trying to end this right here, right now. But don't get solo killed. Still has so much potential to sustain on up. If he can get to the fountain and get back out on the map before they can knock down both these turrets. Does take a little bit of that fountain healing. Has the Gore Drinker. Has to find the 1v3. Doesn't connect on the first undertow. They're on the turret. They're on the Nexus. They have so much DPS. They'll just do it. That's game 3 coming on up. Degenerate's going to even us up at a game apiece here in very, very exciting fashion.
Yeah, and there at the end, Degenerates just said, okay, Mordekaiser's by themselves. We'll just walk bot, take that, and take the game. A little bit of an overextension there from Kopek, but absolutely phenomenal stuff coming from the side of Degenerates. Got that early game rolling with the Pantheon and the Tristana, exactly what we wanted to see. Looking for some spicy picks maybe coming out in this last game, of course. We'll see if that does happen. I'd imagine we're more likely to see these teams go towards a bit of comfort. But of course, like you said, evening up the score all of our series have gone to 3 games that we've casted so far this year, so maybe a little bit of a pattern.
If that's a pattern that continues to develop, our voices are going to be quite beat up on the other end of the split. So I hope it doesn't hold that way always. But I got to say, it's been a very hype series. Not necessarily the cleanest for Degenerates in the win. A little bit of a stumble, even as they went very strong through. But we'll break it down a little bit more on the analyst desk on the other side of a quick break. So we'll see you guys real soon. We'll be back.
She's such a misfit, always ready to brawl. It's like her business, roughing up your friends. The law, there is no difference. If you believe you're strong, she's a bulldozer, making sure you're flat on the ground. She's like a boomerang that never gives up. She flies in circles, so she hits you when you're bad in the dust. So just remember this: when she's chasing you down, face first, you'll be thrown into the proving ground. She'll knock you out. Have you ever really wanted to be a total rebel, flipping tables on the enemy? Did you ever try to further improve how fast you punch people through the roof? Oh, was there ever any certain time when you thought brute force and style combined? Well, I guess now it's time to shine, 'cause finally she's here. Here comes Vine. As a matter of fact, the best bet one has is to quickly react to the first attack and save for the bullets. She'll never be back, just whisper. Have you ever really wanted to be a total rebel, flipping tables on the enemy? Did you ever try to further improve how fast you punch people through the roof? Oh, was there ever any certain time when you thought brute force and style combined? Well, I guess now it's time to shine, 'cause finally she's here. Here comes
I can't. I can't hear. Are we good?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see. Crow's enjoying a beverage. Welcome back to the analyst desk after game number 2.
You know what that tastes like? You know what that tastes like?
What does it taste like?
It tastes like a game 3, babies. Woo! Let's go. Week 2,
Let's go.
game 3 angle once again. These Degen boys decided to turn it up a notch and say, "All right, we can't let ourselves go out like that." This composition that they chose for game 2. Oh my god! It was literally just. It's
2018.
It's a 2018 jump you comp. Like, it's literally Aatrox's going to dive in, Diana's going to dive in, Wukong going to dive in, Pantheon's going to dive in from literally multiple screens away, and it's just like, oh wow, we can't play the game. And there were
even the AD carry was jumping in. It was Tristana. It was
Tristana
great.
was jumping in. She's like, I could do this too, boy. So it was really dope to see that actually worked. Kind of fighting fire with fire, because CBD's composition was very team fight focused. You know, you have the Karma there, enchanted mantra shields boosting up everybody, getting them in position. A mantra shielded Olaf is usually like absolutely terrifying running at you, but when you pick, you know, a Pantheon or Wukong or Aatrox that will gladly say, "Hey, come at me, I got you, bro, like fight me," it works out. So very nice job from Degenerates to fight fire with fire, and with a very scrappy, bloody game, wind up on top and bring us to a game 3.
Yeah, I will say it is very much as you say. It was a scrappy, bloody game. It wasn't like game number 1 where when CB Dragons won, they did it very cleanly. They had a very clear path of attack. They said, we're going to have long-range engage possibility with the Call of the Forge God. Once that comes through, Rek'Sai can jump into the back line, and Kayle will protect him with the Divine Intervention. Yeah, we saw that over and over again come through in game number 1, and it was a very cleanly played game. This game, Degenerates were in the lead basically the entire time, and it was a pretty decent lead, but it was sort of chaotic. It was 1v5s going into the death realm, waiting for it to unfold, starting a fight on a second front while that happens, moving back to the Mordekaiser, some dragons getting stolen away, some team fights getting lost despite the lead, and it was something like 60 kills in 28 minutes, and that's just a little bit more than my old heart can handle. But we have a whole third game of it coming up. Not to shut you away too quick, Crow, but we do have the draft for that one going right now, so we're going to jump on over. We'll see you after the game, my friend, as we jump on through here. Degenerates back on blue side, Dragons back on red. What do you want to see in this third and final game, Kev?
Well, I know what CB Dragons don't want to see, and that's more Pantheon from Persnickety. Absolutely popped off in that last game. Actually going to see a double ban here. Leaving that Victor open, though, a very strong pick, of course, giving that AP too risky, should be very strong.
Yeah, definitely so. We've seen that one banned out in the first 2 games. Never gotten a chance for the Degenerates to play it, but this time they get their mid lane priority sorted out. First pick, Victor, takes me back to the beginning of the season, and those weren't necessarily good times for the meta. No, don't do this. They're really going back to 12-2 meta. No, it's Victor Corky! Somebody save us! I was promised that it was done. I was promised that it was over. Kev, how has this matchup evolved since we were seeing it every single game? Is it still exactly the same?
I really don't think it has. It's Corky presses R, Victor just lasers everything and runs around with Phase Rush. I don't expect to see too much difference. What I'm hoping for is... okay. It's like you said, it's just 12-2. So we're going to have, what, Aphelios here, maybe a
Jinx.
Nautilus, and then a Jinx on the other side. Alright, maybe saved a little bit with a Poppy jungle possibly coming out from Akira. They really like this pick for Degenerates, it would seem.
Yeah, they did have Poppy, not Poppy the champion, but Poppy the player, playing Poppy in game number 1 did Degenerates. This time around, Kaitakira going to be the one using that champion to its fullest, as we will see how they round out the first phase of picks here, but definitely getting a bit formulaic, more so than we expected from the first 2 games. They were very chaotic, weird picks. This is a lot more bog standard meta stuff, but that's not bog standard meta. That's got to be a Xerath support, no?
I would certainly hope so, because I guess it could be Victor top and Xerath mid. I don't think so. I think it probably is a Xerath support. I think they're going to try and hit him back with the poke comp that they tried. They didn't quite get in the first game.
Now we'll see if they can make that win condition a bit more powerful here in game number 3. Is Nami going to be picked up for the Dragons? No Lucian for them yet. It could be banned out here in the second phase, but it works with a lot of AD carries down there in the bot lane. Your Vaynes and your Ezreals, anybody who can really put a lot of damage down in a quick amount of time to proc those 3 empowered attacks or abilities, going to be making good use of the Nami down there. And we are going to see that AD carry priority come through in the bans for the second phase.
Yeah, and I was very shocked, honestly, to see both Lucian and Tristana make it through the entirety of that first ban and pick rotation. We'll have to wait and see if it does get banned in the second ban phase. I think more... Yeah, okay, so going to see that one banned out from the side of CB Dragons. What else maybe aggressive early damage can we get? You're going to see just even more... They had a pick for every game. I think last game it was CB Dragons banned 4 out of the 5 were mid laners.
Yeah, and the game before that, I think 4 of the 5 bans were junglers. They've basically been targeting somebody in every single one. And with all of these meta AD carries taken off the board, it's the misfortune going back into the game here. Don't see it as much as we did a couple patches ago when these comps were more traditional, more, there's a word I'm searching for here, more rampant in the meta. So it's going to be MF paired up with Nami, lots of early poke, and Sivir the counter.
I think they're just going for a poke lane, to be honest with you. It would be Sivir or the Caitlyn into that lane. Don't know why they chose the Sivir over the Caitlyn, to be honest with you. But
Spell shields for the poke is the only thing I can think of.
Still going to be very, very strong poke coming out from the bot lane of Degenerates. I'd imagine they want to... Oh, Poppy top!
Yeah, or Soul Lane Nocturne, perhaps, although we haven't seen that one in a long time. As now CB Dragons is getting in on the beefy frontliner party. They're going to maybe consider the Malphite. Haven't locked it in yet. There it goes. They're going to take the Malphite, so we're going to see tank v tank somewhere, wherever that does wind up. But Degenerate's going for a very interesting comp here.
Yeah, like you said, very, very interesting. A lot of engage. They're kind of disjointed, to be honest with you, because you have the Xerath, Victor, and Sivir that are going to want to play back and poke a little bit, and Nocturne and Poppy are not really going to want to do anything but go in. But it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of play around that dynamic. Of course, on the other side, a much more traditional comp as to what we've seen this year: tank top lane, Corki mid lane.
We can't escape the Victor Corki matchup. It'll follow us to the ends of the earth. It never truly goes away. The Viego, though, going to be interesting for CB Dragons. Don't get solo kill being the bright spot in both of these games, the one that was won and the one that was lost. The Olaf doing some absolute work at certain points, and the Viego very similar. Going to be picking up these resets, going to be chaining kills like we saw the Olaf do in the last game. But just looking at the way these two comps have shaken out here moving into game number 3, do you feel a definite advantage for one or the other?
I really think that in the draft, I kind of favor CB Dragons just a little bit, just because of the point I made earlier with the side of Degenerates, that their engage versus poke is just very disjointed to me, and I'm not sure how they're going to make that one work. On the other side, I think that the game plan is much more straightforward. We're going to go in, we're going to peel for this MF, have a bullet time over the top, maybe poke them out a little bit with Corki, but a lot of it is going to be an engage from Malphite followed by everyone ulting.
Yeah, I definitely see that angle for sure. You have the wombo possibilities. You have the options to move forward or back, kite out, go in. It just feels more well-rounded, like you say, for CB Dragons. But maybe if we do see Bixus going the more traditional, like old-school attack speed, wave clear crit Sivir, it could be a bit more front to back from both sides, but definitely a lot more squishy bodies with that Xerath support for Degenerates, so room for it to maybe go wrong. But we've seen them win bot lane 2 games in a row, so who knows? Anything could happen in game number 3, and we will see what does wind up happening on the other side of a short break for the final time tonight. Deciding game of VAS Week 2 coming up right after this. Right into the action here for our final game of the night. It is Degenerate Spawn and CB Dragons battling it out here to pick up the W in week number 2 of VAS. And for the third time, we see Degenerate stack as 5. I'm Infinite Dodge. I'm joined by Kevbo, and we might have some action right off the bat. Nope. Kobita out of there.
Yeah, I think spotted that one out just around the wall. Walks right back off that. Does not want to end up in a 5v1 this early in the game. Of course, very important to pick up these wins early in the season, get yourself rolling, and of course can be pretty important later in the season when we possibly get to tiebreakers, of course.
Yeah, seeding considerations as well. Definitely good to pick up all the W's you can and just get some momentum going, get a nice win streak to start the season. Always makes it easier to keep on rolling through. But we do have a nice 5v5 explosion extravaganza ready to come forward, but it's not the Lethal Tempo Sivir I was hoping it would be. Instead, it will be Dark Harvest coming through for Bixis, so looking for more of that poke angle.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Kobita does go in the top side. Of course, not surprised to see the Arcane Comet come out. I'd imagine it's going to be Tank Malphite, but could possibly see a AP angle. Of course, you're going to probably build a little bit of that into the kit regardless.
Yeah, quote me on this, Kev. If he builds AP, he's trolling. There's no reason to go AP Malphite in this day and age. They gutted the ratios. The base damage of full tank Malphite is basically fine as it is. The Comet's good for lane poke, but definitely not going to want to full commit to go in AP, especially when you have no real other frontline on CB Dragons. Going to be a time for a big old rock up there in the top lane, for sure.
Yeah, and we're getting a little bit of that mid lane, super intensive skill-based farming coming out from Victor and Corky in the mid lane. Of course, both junglers did start topside. It does look like Don't Get Soul Q decided to skip and go straight to, it looks like a 3 camp clear and then gank angle.
Yeah, we'll see if maybe it's the Wraith invade instead does go forward into the opposing jungle, maybe trying to meet Nocturne on the red buff. Could be some action brewing there, but in the bot lanes, Kiora chunked out quite a bit. Viego and Nocturne seem to be wrestling over this red buff. Does he know he's there? No, Katakira finally going to get hit on from out of the bush, but the W doesn't connect. The stun won't be found, but now into that hallowed path. And look at Kopek all the way through from mid lane, got the push, got the priority, finds the first blood on the invade, gets the red buff for his jungler. Risky trying to answer it back, but no mana left. Nothing to be done there as Kiora's forced to cleanse early in the bot lane exchange. So much action, but it's CB Dragons who are the beneficiaries of the first blood.
Yeah, of course, having a little bit of trouble on that bot side for Kioria and Taco Cat. Poke kind of insane from Sivir alone, so Sivir and Xerath going to present an even bigger issue. But of course, going to hopefully get that shove in and get a recall here. Viego going to just hover, it looks like, and make sure that they get that one all the way in.
Yeah, it's a good little bit of babysitting from the jungler, as junglers would have us believe is all they do, is babysit their laners. But this has sort of been the story of the series so far, right? CBD don't really find the mojo in the bot lane in the early game. Last time around, we did at least see Kiora be able to farm up in the side lane and become much more relevant later. Almost won some big fights for them and made the game look hairy for a while, but definitely lane dominance coming through from Degenerate Spawn all throughout this series in the bot lane.
Yeah, absolutely. Kobita winning out on that top side thus far. Going to get that first back, it looks like. Molder really trying to prevent the wave from pushing all the way in, but going to take a big chunk there.
Yeah, and CBD just sort of resting on their laurels right now, up 1k, no objectives really spawned in yet to get. It looked like Don't Get Solo Killed, going to use the tempo advantage gained off that invade kill to get the double crab. Not quite as valuable as it once was long ago, as we see a stun on Kobita under turret, and no mana left means no punish left to be made, but they're going to look for the dive angle, actually. They're saying solo, or rather double crab, be damned. Instead, they're going to go for the kill, but AFK Boulder finds a nice flash. Somebody's gonna have to die for that, right? No, Malphite doesn't actually get the TP out here. No way! In the face of Akira, he just moves on. No red buff, no burn, no red smite quite yet. Means Malphite gets out scot-free there.
Yeah, and very, very close from the side of CBD there. Like you said, Malphite just made it out with that TP. Very smart and quick use of that one. Going to keep Kobita from giving up that first kill to Degenerate on the other side. Still, though, this poke from the bot lane Insane. Stun going to land from Persnickety, but of course, Nami is going to have a little bit of healing in this lane. Make things just a little bit easier, but still, like I said, it's going to be a very, very hard early laning phase from the side of CBD.
Yeah, definitely so, and we'd like to see Degenerates push the issue a little bit more in that bot lane because they really are the win condition at this point, with topside being set far behind again. Boulder just really been absolutely pile-driven on in this series. Often the target of ganks, really been picked on repeatedly, so like to see some kills start to come through early for Degenerates in that bot lane, especially with this Drake on the map. But once again, it's just Boulder, nowhere to go. Does get the double ult, though, to escort his own exit out. Shouldn't fall unless Kopek finds him. No, you went the wrong way. You picked the wrong path. The Rockets will seal your fate. Kopek picks up Boulder. It's just open season on this top laner right now. Somebody help this man.
Yeah, and a good roam going to pay off for Kopek there. Persnickety gonna maybe look for something spicy.
Yeah, Xerath yet to land a stun. This is buffed Xerath, who gets longer stun duration with the max distance E. That was a perfect example of it. Really chunks out Kiora with that full combo, and it should secure this first Drake for his team.
Yeah, losing on the map, or sorry, losing on the kill feed, but winning in macro for the side of Degenerates at the moment. Are able to pick up this early Drake. We'll have to wait and see if they do end up getting that stack going, but of course, going to have a rough time, especially as Viego is already 1-0-2, and I'd imagine the reset city going to be coming in some of these team fights.
Yeah, it does yet to convert that Ember Knife into a red smite, but once has that tool, going to be absolutely deadly in these fights, going to get a lot of damage down. It's been interesting to me, the early Dragon priority for Degenerates has been so high in this series. They've grabbed a lot of them, even when they aren't necessarily winning the early game.
Yeah, absolutely, and that can be a very important factor if it does go late and you can force your opponent to come to some of these neutral objectives. If you get the setup first, going to be very, very important in turning team fights that are kind of challenging to win, but of course, still with this absolute just neutral objective priority coming out from the side of Degenerates.
Yeah, they're going to move right from taking the Drake into taking the Herald, so it's a clean sweep on the objectives at the least, despite the big old goose egg in the kill column. So that's something to feel good about if you are rooting for the Degenerates from home. So it's just going to be about how they can use that Rift Herald once they pick it up, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and you want to see them get that money onto probably the spot lane, as it looks like Bix is going to have.
Oh, Bixus, you had nowhere to go. The spell shield did nothing. The exhaust just makes you fodder for the bullet time there from Kiora. I mean, Persnickety roaming up to try and help secure that Rift Herald means for once they cannot win 2v2 in that bot lane. Going to be cleanly picked there is Bixus. Didn't have the cleanse for the exhaust. Should have taken cleanse, Bixus.
Yeah, and I think also a little bit of a late flash, not going to allow them to get out when they needed to. It looks like Don't Get Soul Killed is on this top side again, though, looking for a loop.
Yeah, as now we see, I mean, this is just targeted harassment at this point. Report the top side of CBD, because they just keep going after Boulders. Kobita getting these big old mountainous slaps on down, but at the very least doesn't find the kill.
Yeah, Poppy able to just knock Viego away, make that one just barely winnable Nocturne.
Yeah, coming on in with the paranoia, the flash forward to find Kiora with this artillery coming on through from the Xerath. The knockup under turret, well done from Taco Cat. Maybe if a little bit damage could have been found before those turret shots started to attack, Akira might have been traded out there. But this is a nice little infusion back of gold. They're going to drop the Herald down here in the bot lane.
Yeah, and that is what they needed. Like I said, getting this Turret Gold and Rift Herald money onto Vixis on the Sivir, going to buff that lethality, and a little bit of poke, going to make it even harder. Like I keep saying with all these poke comps, keep trying to go for it. It's really, really important that they set up this vision here so that they can poke the other team out before the objectives. Of course, they've already been able to stack some of those objectives. They really just want to keep that snowball going.
Yeah, it's the ideal scenario that when you're both contesting the objective, you have that advance notice, like you're talking about, so that you can find the very guaranteed poke. So much harder to dodge out poke when you're seen, but you can't see the enemy. But I'm sure degenerates are happy to show up to these objectives and not find any contest either. That works for now, as they do try to secure themselves a bit of a late game. They have fallen behind early. It's about 2k, especially the gold sitting on Kopek there in the mid lane, who's already picked up the Ravenous Hydra. Looks like it's going to be the poke build for Corki.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the damage back, really, I think, against the Xerath and Sivir combo. Of course, just throwing projectile after projectile over this wall from both sides. And that is the name of the game. Just setting up that objective here. It does look like CBD have a little bit of an early priority onto this objective. Of course, they are going to want to stop that setup. Corki going to pick up yet another plate in the mid lane, though.
Yeah, that continued stacking of the gold for Corki definitely going to make him really, really dangerous as time goes on. For those who have forgotten what it's like to see a fed Corki, it's no fun for the enemy team as we see Malphite roaming all the way down to the bot lane. And that's just a dead Degenerates duo. That was a little bit brutal. Kobita just coming on through, becomes an unstoppable force, and just as we were praising Degenerates for their capability to get these neutral objectives, it should be a free ride to Mountain Drake Station for CBD.
Yeah, and Kopek almost trolled a little bit with that package, knocking, I think, both members out of the bullet time, but still able to pick up those kills nice and easily. Peoria going to stay and get that farm, continue pressing that advantage that they already have.
Yeah, as we see Boulder trading a little bit aggressively onto Kobita, but no real follow-up, as it's just the concern for Akira to try and get some of these camps, try and answer back on the cross map a little bit. Falling behind in this game is his team, needs to get every little morsel of gold that he can. But it's as you say, that was almost a misplay down around that bot lane team fight, but when you have 4 members to 2 and no wave to protect you, it all works out in the end, and CBD really flipping the script in that bot lane. It's Eclipse already finished for Misfortune. Kiora going to be doing so much damage now.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just going to see, I imagine, a little bit of a lull state from both teams. Just sit there, scale up as much as you can, wait for this next dragon to come up in 4 minutes. Of course, probably will see the first tower going down here soon. There are a couple low ones on both sides. We'll have to see where these teams do decide to focus. As we get that replay coming in, set up, Kioria going to take a little bit of poke here, but an overextension means that the Malphite ult going to come in. Like I said, Kopek going to knock them out a little bit, but just a nice easy follow-up on that dive as Malphite just autos and Corki.
Yeah, I mean, that's just so much committed to try and kill Kopek, but it's not even going to matter. The Valkyrie was nice and quick, gets on out of that fear range from Akira, and that artillery coming through from Xerath not even going to connect. So a nice little dodge away from Kopek, and CBD continuing to feel confident and secure here in this game. They're playing up to the margins and not really getting punished for it at all, so things really feeling good for the Dragons here in Game 3.
Yeah, and honestly, just becoming a scarier and scarier game. All of your members can kind of just get bursted by the combo of this Corki and Viego. Of course, Viego, if they get that reset, going to be able to keep on resetting and really take over team fights. Of course, we saw Inspired pop off on it last spring over in the LEC. We'll have to wait and see how Don't Get Sold Kill does play this one.
Yeah,
but I would be very afraid on the side of DES.
Yeah, it's a monster. It's a 200 years champ. Let's be real. It does so much in these fights. It's like Master Yi, but better, is how I've always described Viego. You don't want to see him carve through your team. But maybe Degenerates can find the lockdown onto him if he is isolated. But who they have isolated for now is Kobita. Kaitakira coming on through, going to use that unstoppable force to try and get away. No paranoia means no follow-up. So very well done there from the side of Kobita to make that 2v1 a bust, and just continuing to buy time and advantages for his team as they scale up.
Yeah, and just going to go back into that lull state here. Drag going to be up in about 2 minutes. We want to see setup. As soon as I say that, though,
Yeah, they're forcing on the bot lane. The exhaust going to lock up Persnickety once again. Now they've picked up both of these members with that combo. It's so oppressive to just find that movement speed slow. Means you can't get out of the skill shots of the Misfortune. Risky, forced to flash from the W, but the Heartbreaker just goes right on over the wall. You cannot stop this champion. Going to get lasered, going to be put in the gravity well, but not going to get stunned as he picks up the Ghost. Don't get solo killed, popping off once again. CBD up 8-1 and 4K gold in this game, and Kobe is not trying to let them get a free cross-map play either.
yeah, I'd imagine they're not going to try to actually fight this one. Just poke out with the Q as much as they can. After I say that, though, OPEC going to roam up. It looks like they will actually end up dissuading this one.
Yeah, knowing that the backup was coming and having the full health bar on this really tanky Malphite, Kobita was able to play so brazenly there, and that does secure a neutral objective back for the Dragons. I mean, Kira has the paranoia. They can maybe look for a steal, but it feels maybe a little desperate if you're trying that at this point. They do go in, but they're not going to get anything. They do get a steal, but they're going to give up so much for it. Xerath with the ultimate over the top, not even going to find them a kill. I'm not sure if that one was worth. As don't get solo kill, continuing to chase, does get stunned up. Malphite's here, no ult though. Gravity well means they can't continue to chase.
Yeah, and they are going to be able to pick that one up. It doesn't look like they did get the objective here as we see the bit of the replay. I know we did get the steal. I'm just not sure if they were able to get the Eye of the Herald there.
I do believe Nocturne picked it up, yes. Thankfully, for the side of Degenerates.
We'll have to wait and see. Going to have this vision. AFK Boulder really just there as a ward at this point. Going to throw out the ult, get out as many people as they can. Does not manage to get anyone as we get a slowdown. Just a little bit of an early smite there. And it does look like Akira was able to pick that one up just before they went down. Of course, going to have trades back and forth. But that does mean that this drag should be going over to CBD here. No miracle steal for Akira this time, but of course that Herald is going to be relatively important. Should probably get used to crack open this base a little bit. Kope looking for something here, maybe. On
Yeah, he has the
going down
package.
flash.
Oh my god, he absolutely deletes the Xerath with just the package Valkyrie. That was nasty coming through from Kopek. Is now Taco Cat forced to flash away, however, but Kyora's here to back up the play. Has the bullet time. Risky's got nowhere to go. Just caught up, but the Poppy finds the shutdown. Now it's the jungle versus jungle combat as Don't Get Solo Killed shows on up. Has this percent health damage tearing through the tank. Finds the Heartbreaker. Going to continue moving forward. Doesn't get the stun, but Kiora does help find the kill there as it is another one team fight going 1 for 3 there from CBD on the back of the objective take. They have absolute run of this map. It's as you say, Kev. They might have been able to get one miracle steal, but they are not finding much other success here, are the Degenerates.
Yeah, and Persnickety just going to have to use the ult there to try and clear the way. Malphite going to take a 1v2 in the bot lane here.
Yeah, I mean, they can't even bully Kobita out in the 1v2. He stood his ground as this giant mountain that he is, completely immovable, and now just going to continue shoving this wave forward. I mean, things feel really, really dicey for the Degenerates.
Yeah, CBD have total run of the map at this point, and it's so hard for DES to really contest anything. They do have that poke as we get this replay of this last team fight. Kopek going to use the package. Of course, great flash from Persnickety, but just so much damage coming out. Everyone does end up showing up as Kopek did get forced out, but Kioria with the bullet time going to pick up another kill. And a nice little flank from Boulder, but of course just going to trade their life for another's. I'm honestly a little bit surprised that we didn't see Vixis and Akira stick around a little bit and see if they couldn't pick up Kioria on the flank there. Of course, going to have Malphite still kind of just pressing Q and walking away. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Bix's with this lethality Sivir build really doesn't do the damage that is necessary to cut through a tank, even with all that CC that Boulder was able to find onto Kobita. Still gets away with about 1/3 health, now gets that passive shield back up as well. So really unbothered, in his own lane, flourishing, moisturized is Kobita right now. Absolute dream of a life. Nothing doing, as that bubble was preemptive to try and stop Katakira, but he takes the paranoia in, not going to find the kill onto Kiora, but they are at least going to chunk that enemy AD carry out. But you know what that means. Boulder's on their own again. Boulder going to get absolutely eliminated in the side lane. Make it stop. Somebody help him.
Yeah, don't get solo killed is not getting any solo kills, but is instead letting their top laner just set up kill after kill after kill onto the enemy top laner. Kobito with a nice flank here could maybe see a bit of a combo.
Yep, that's the ult going down. They find the Xerath once again. This is a massacre for CBD in Game 3. It's not even close. They're up 14 kills and 8k at 20 minutes. The Baron has just hit the map, but I'm sure they're angling to go right at it. Going to clear out some of this vision, pick up the Scuttle Crab, but I don't see any reason why they can't pick up this Nasher.
Yeah, and I know Kobita was on a ward there. I'm surprised they didn't back off a little bit earlier. Instead, walks up, presses R, and just, it's like the rats in Ratatouille. Everyone's scattering everywhere as soon as Kobita shows up all over the map. Of course, like you said, going to be a pretty free Baron for the side of CBD and looking very, very strong in this game.
Yeah, I mean, this is looking dang near unstoppable at this point for the Dragons. They are up so big time right now. The only thing that's really eluded them so far in this game is the stacking of the Drakes, but that's because we're only at 22 minutes. You would think with this kind of lead they would have had plenty of time to stack those up, but it's early yet, and they are already in such a commanding position with 40 seconds to go on this Infernal spawn. They can continue to extend this lead here as Boulder, you can't walk up to the tier 1. You ought to know better at this point. Does at least get the objective bounty, but can't get anything else with the bot lane there.
Yeah, and Dragon's just going to get the push here.
That's a really overambitious paranoia coming through from Akira. I mean, what? I don't understand what the plan was there. Going to go headlong into 2 people and get absolutely eliminated. That reeks a little bit of desperation here, Kev.
Yeah, absolutely, and CBD were setting up the push in both the mid and bot for this drag that is coming up right now as well. So I think maybe just trying to dissuade that one a little. But like you said, a little bit over aggressive, not respecting that the other members could be there as we get another fight.
Oh, that was so nasty. I do believe Boulder had the Keeper's Verdict, but it was canceled by the Aqua Prison coming through from Taco Cat. Now it's the godlike look for the Viego here, going to be dressing up as Poppy for a little while until he gets over to that Drake, turns back into that Ruined King that we all know and love. But this feels more or less sealed for CBD. Unfortunate for Degenerates. They put up a decent fight in Game 1. They gave us a bloody win in Game 2, but in Game 3, CBD, I think, are proving themselves to just be a different level of team here in the early goings of the VAS.
Yeah, I know Don't Get Solo Killed has kind of been fed by Kobita on that top side, just kill after kill, but at the same time, 7-0-3 on this Viego, absolutely massive. They're already pushing down this tower. Which one do you end up contesting? Kopek going to take the bot one, Victor just there to try and clear, but that's really all he can do.
Yeah, their ability to play on 2 lanes right now with this giant lead is so massive for CBD, as they're just collecting all the standing gold, continuing to balloon their lead even further. Kopek going to have to back off a little bit until the cooldowns do allow him to make a splash in that fight. Maybe thinking about resetting for the package when it comes up. But that is the stun coming on through onto Kobita. Some poke over the wall, but even those Victor lasers with the Luden's Echo not doing much of anything. Waves pushed. Maybe going to try and find something. Our Degenerates are going in. One last ditch effort, but they already lose one member. Akira diving in headlong, but can't find anything at all. They will at least get the AD carry. Is that enough to win the fight? No, not with Kopek coming around from the back. Look at that AoE. Look at the damage. Does get stunned up in the gravity well, though. Can they answer back? He's ticking so low, but he's going to get on out. They can't even convert on that. 4 healthy members, or at least alive members, still here for CBD, and they can continue to press their luck. They have so much lead to gamble with. But Boulder finding the stun. Will they find the shutdown? Yes, they do. So that's at least a little something, as we got a 420 score line coming through.
Yeah, CBD just a little bit too greedy there at the end. I think really wanted to get that inhibitor tower. Easy pickup with the stun into the wall and that lethality from Sivir. But back's going to come in. Packages coming up. Going to leave that one for now, and I'd imagine use it at this next dragon fight that is going to be coming up in about 3 minutes.
Is there any universe where Degenerates can win this dragon fight against a package Corgi?
I think your best look is maybe a steal. A good job by Poppy to get those members away, but of course still really, really hard with how fed that Dragons are. Kopek on this flank, a little bit of a misplay. Did not quite get off the damage that they wanted there. Almost goes down in a trade, but still very well played from Dragons. They're just smacking them with their wallets at this point, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're up so huge right now, 11k, and they basically have the capability to do whatever they want on the map. Their Baron has expired without cracking the base, but there's always the next go around, as I don't think there's going to be anything stopping them from taking that buff on repeat for as long as it takes. And it's just a little bit of a poor situation for Degenerates. I feel bad for them. They don't have the agency to really mount a comeback in this game unless there's some massive misplays from CBD. We will have to see if that comes through. To me right now, the most entertaining thing about this game is that it's a 420 scoreline and one of the teams is called CBD. That's a fun bit of coincidence that is enjoyable. But other than that, it's been a bit of a resident sleeper.
Yeah, definitely. It's quirky, Victor. What can we say? Going to see a little bit on the side here. Like you said, it's going to be really hard for VES to get back into this game, of course.
I mean, maybe if Don't Get Solo Killed goes in really aggressively like that, it won't be, but they can't even punish that. He was a bit isolated, but they can't find any damage onto him. He just sustains right through it with the Sunder, with the Blade of the Rune King. The magic damage not sticking through the Merc Treads either, as he follows Boulder into the base with the Blast Cone, finds the Heartbreaker forward. Going to find this kill, you have to feel the Gravity Storm, the Chaos Storm rather, down on top of him, does nothing. That momentary silence can't stop the painful shouts of the Rune King as he rips through your front line, as he assassinates your back line, as Bix's falls, as everybody goes into the mist. CBD picking up the objective, CBD picking up the kills, and CBD soon to be picking up the win here in extremely dominant fashion. I don't think they have to stop.
Yeah, and even if they didn't win that team fight, it's still very straightforward. Just wait for this drag to come up, get your Infernal Soul, and finish your siege. However, a good play. A little bit of fountain diving for some extra pad KDA. As I was saying, though, Don't Get Solo Killed, absolutely popping off, does go in and pick up a little bit of a team fight start. Ends up in a pretty big win for them, going to move to 2-0 in VAS.
Yeah, the Dragons really showing up and showing out tonight. It was a pretty good-looking win for them in Game 1. It was a very scrappy loss for them in Game 2. They looked competitive at various points, and then Game 3 was an absolute wash. I mean, Dragons really proving themselves and what they've got in the draft. They have these easy-to-execute plans, as we do finally get to be able to see the post-game. It's not broken anymore. Thank you, Daddy Rito, for finally fixing this after 5 patches. We get a look at the damage numbers coming through. I mean, Kopek on the Corki absolutely leading the pack, 19k with that poke build. Really, really scary stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, and I still think that synergy from the top side of Kobita and Don't Get Solo Killed, absolutely insane. Got his Viego ahead from the beginning and just took over the game.
Oh my god.
We do have Crow rejoining us here. We got the old TriCast. We got the Dust coming back.
Oh my goodness. What happened, Degenerates?
I'll tell you what happened, Crow. Bixus didn't take cleanse.
I mean, yeah, that is key up on the market, but also not the biggest fan of persnickety on this Xerath. Like, I get that they banned out the Panth, I get that they banned out the Wukong, but you still had Nautilus available, you still had the recently buffed Thresh available. I would have loved to see something with Engage. Like, it just
Yeah.
did not work. This double ranged bot lane. I understand what they were trying to do, abuse the Nami, but it just, oh man, the early games went so south with them. And you looking at the numbers, looking at the damage, like, oh, it's just so sad to see after they gave such a strong performance in game 2. For game 3, CB Dragons are just like, all right, yeah, let's wrap this up. So
It was a shonen anime moment. CB Dragons, the villain who said, "I'm done toying with you. I was only using 10% of my true power." And then the power-up came through, and they smacked him down in Game 3. I mean, Kev, that was dominant in every sense of the word. Where do you think, all through the series, the advantages came from that made Dragons look so good tonight?
I definitely think that it went back and forth just because I think the teams were pretty even. I honestly think that last game was a pretty huge draft if I'm not going to lie. That, like you said, the Xerath, I just don't think was the call there. So many other options that are strong and would have given them maybe some engage, or at least, like you said with the Nautilus, with the knockups, especially on the ult, could have prevented maybe some of the damage from bullet time as well.
Oh, yeah.
So, and at the same time, like I said, that synergy on the top side for Dragons was absolutely insane. Every single game, they were up there getting kills on Boulder.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Crow, that's definitely where my eyes went.
It's oh my god! Like, I tabbed away for a minute. Like, I'm over here doing taxes and boring stuff, and then like I hear they can't keep killing them like this, and I tab back over, and I'm like, oh,
it ain't right.
They've committed an unalive on this poor top laner. Wow, and they just kept coming back to that over and over again. And like Kev said, throughout the entirety of the series, we had Kobita and Don't Get Solo Killed being such a great duo on the top side, just creating these advantages, even when they were like behind in some parts. Great flanks, great TP flanks we saw coming out from them as well. Like, even in that match that they lost in game 2, it was very scrappy, and there were a lot of moments where Don't Get Solo Killed was like, I'm going to save the game, and it really kept the game going. So really good job by the top side of CBD to just keep fighting on and keep pushing through, because it definitely worked out for them in the end. So, my fine fellows, any last thoughts before I close out the day for us?
I hope that the degenerates, show some love to the side of AFK Boulder up there on the top side. He was getting camped heavy throughout this series, really feasting on him over and over again. He didn't really get the support from his team in-game, so I hope somebody gets him an Uber Eats coupon or something, buys him a sandwich, buys him one of the new really cool EDG skins, because he deserves it. He was a trooper for going through that series tonight, and it was, a good effort from degenerates despite the loss.
Yeah, I really think it was scrappy. I'm excited, especially to see how the week turned out for the rest of our teams. Especially, getting into these week 3, week 4s, we're probably going to start seeing some of these groups have a leader start to kind of pop out. Allows at least us as casters to focus a little more on who we might be interested as favorites for these groups. Of course, it's very early in the season. Anything can happen. So
you are onto something there. Anything can happen indeed. Only week number 2 in the books for us tonight. A riveting 3-game series. Hey, maybe next week we'll keep it going with the same amount. Okay, for myself and everyone at the broadcast crew, for Victoris, y'all have a wonderful night, and we will see y'all next time. Same time, same place. Bye.